Hi, Real Chat. Are you guys there? Am I both seen and heard? Am I both seen and heard on Real Chat? I'm yelling at the Cuban Americans. It's a great day. Over on the TikTokers. So I'm still doing that right now. Oh shit, actually I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, so when you're in Cuba, it's not like everybody you meet is obsessed with communism. I met a guy who's a straight up capitalist. He was 20% of the island's economy comes from private enterprise, private business. I met a guy who owned one of those businesses. And he was like, I mean, I love capitalism. I'm a business owner. Of course I love capitalism. I think Donald Trump should come take over our country. You'll meet them. It's not like they don't, obfuscate, thanks. It's not like they don't exist. They're just very few and far between. 10% of the island is not communist. And contrary to what these fucking weird ass Cuban Americans will tell you, they will tell you if they're not communist. Everyone's like, they can't tell you. They're terrified for their lives. They will tell you. I met that guy. He was like, yeah, no, I'm not a guy. I'm a fucking business owner. I would love it if Donald Trump came and took this over. And it's not like he just told me in private. He said it to a group of us. Like, right? Like, you're allowed to have different opinions. You don't even have to be a member of the Communist Party to run for government there. 10% of their elected officials are not communists. The fact just remains the majority of them are. Like, the majority of them are. And that is the biggest massive cope for these Cuban American lobby groups. Because they hate that. They don't want you knowing that the majority of Cubans just, like communism. Even more than that, I meet young people who are like, I'm not super ideological. I just know the blockade is bad. So if we have to stop being communist to get through the blockade, and then the United States lifts the blockade against us, like, why don't we just do that? That was very common. I probably met 2 college-aged people who thought that way. And they weren't super ideological. They were just like, I just don't like the blockade. So maybe if we just stop being communist, the United States will be nicer to us, and then we can get through the blockade. Right? They'll tell you these fucking things. It's not like they're scared for their lives, and that's why they tell you they're communists. They literally just are communists. These people name their kids Marx and Lenin. Right? I was talking to a farm worker who was telling me the importance of dialectical materialism. He's a fucking farm worker. They're communists. You know? Your grandfather was a kid when the embargo made everything well. Yeah, it's very, very hard. It was very, very hard for them. Hi, how are you guys? How's your Real Chat today? Bifflo's back. Okay, Carmen, you won't believe this. Melanie says, my grandparents think if the weather is not exactly as forecast, they lied. Oh, they think that the government's lying to you about the weather or something? That's so cool. Has it been unseasonably cold in LA? It's been a little cold. But there's usually June gloom, so there's always, like, our spring gets a little more chilly. Yeah. Yeah, they got cool linen stuff everywhere. Yes. Thoughts in the USSR, we support. We support the USSR. Can we talk about how elections worked in the USSR? I'm actually not super familiar with the electoral process in the USSR, but I assume it's a standard Marxist-Leninist electoral process. I could talk to you about a standard electoral process for Marxist-Leninism as it happens in Cuba, as it happens in North Korea, as it happens in China, some places. We could do that, if that interests you. Yeah, Mel May, how was your birthday? Did you do anything? I didn't update my goals. I didn't update that. Sorry. Marxina, a beautiful girl's name. So a standard Marxist-Leninist electoral system works like this. It's a delegate system. So this is the best way to think about the structure, okay? You and your neighborhood get together and you elect somebody from your neighborhood to represent you. And let's say that's here, imagine this. Okay, imagine your block, just your block you live on. Imagine your block gets together, what is that? 20 houses? You get together and you elect someone from your block to be your representative at your neighborhood government level. So you get together and in lots of places, like in the DPRK, you know how everybody's like, you can only vote for one person. That's because in most places, this process happens in person. And if you ever read Mao, you'll understand why this process happens in person. A huge part of Marxism is dialectics, is balancing off contradictions of things. And that's why in Marxism, it's really important to sit down and talk with people about things and talk things out and hash things out to get to what you all agree is the truth from there. So what would usually happen in traditional Marxist-Leninist things is that you have a period where you all sit in a room together and you talk. You talk it out. And if it's not very many people, you can come up with a consensus about who is your who is your candidate that you've all decided on together. And in those situations where there's only one name on the ballot, that's because you're confirming fraud didn't happen, and that's literally who you all decided, right? It's not like you vote in secret. You together decide as consensus model. So not everywhere does a consensus model, but like DPRK does. So when we only see one name on the ballot, that's because they're operating off a consensus model, okay? So that doesn't mean they can only vote for one person. That means they've already decided, and now they're just confirming that nothing sketchy happened. So that'll happen. Whatever the case, however you decide to do it, your little block gets together and votes on someone to represent you at your neighborhood. Cool. Now, all of the people who are voted by every block in your neighborhood, they come together and they're their own little government station, right, at your neighborhood level. But they need to elect someone from them to go represent the neighborhood at the city level. So they get together and they do the same thing. They elect one of them to go represent themselves at that city level. Great. So then at the city level, you got everybody from all of the different cities in your county there. And your county now needs to elect one person out of all of you to go represent them at the state level. Okay, fine. So they do that. So then at the state level, you've got everybody representing every single state, and they need to come together and elect who represents them at national levels, things like that. That is like a delegate system. So it's a bottom-up electoral system. So every single person in the government has been elected. And at the very baseline level, from people who know them. Right? There's no pageantry. There's no trying to sell yourself. It's all people who know you, who have worked with you, who understand you. And that is where they all come from. So that is the standard Marxist-Leninist electoral system. And if you're ever in a Marxist-Leninist organization, the elections probably work the same way. Depending on what org you're in, I would guess they work the same way as that. C. Welb says over in Real Chat, yes, in the DPRK, the one person represents the final stage of a months-long process of deciding who to approve. It's a final yes or no. Yep. Yep. Oh my God, Hegel's Big Dialecticals. What non-commie stream did you go on? Oh, you watched the second Christian Bale Batman movie and played poker. Fun. So fun. Oh, you showed your liberal dad pics of Pyongyang. Nice. Nice. Yeah. A non-communist stream of Disco Elysium. Interesting. Very, very fascinating. Okay. What's your opinion on Amazon selling expensive Che shirts and you know where I can get one? Okay, so I used to think, oh shit. I used to think that Che shirts were cheeseball and I would never wear them, but then when I was in Cuba, Cubans were wearing them. And I was like, damn, this goes hard as hell. When the Cubans are wearing the Che shirt. And then my mind got changed and now I think that the Che shirts are fucking cool as hell. So, I'm into them. My mind has been changed. I'm so Cuba pilled. I would wear a Che shirt. Unironically. I'm ready. Yeah. You watched KCNA recently. So funny how Western radio goes out of the way to show standard definition about HD. Interesting. We're Che pilled. We're Fidel pilled. We're all pilled. Your Cuban godmother's father was close friends and worked with Fidel Castro. Oh my God, same school too, yes. And so this is something interesting you guys should know. Most communist places, being in the government's not a job. You don't get paid for that. That's like public service you do. So like in Cuba, it's or the same way, yeah. That's not your job. Like the Cuban president was a teacher and then he retired and now does this job. But he got his start in politics while he was still a teacher. And so he was doing a bunch of political work and being a teacher. So that I think is also cool. Oh, trash unicorn. Yeah, I love to see that. The Cuban school system is so cool. It's so cool. Opinion on forced communism in Romania or the Eastern Bloc as a whole. Look, most places when you look, people there prefer it. Romania is no exception. Most Romanians are like, yeah, communism was better than this. You can look up the polling of it. And under communism, we will make a rule. You can only wear the Che shirt if you've read at least one page of Capital. I agree. You have to have a quote. You have to quote Capital in order to get the Che shirt. Yeah, Cuban kids love math. That's what blew my mind, too. What's some ways kids can teach their friends or things they can do to show support about communism? The number one thing you can do is not be anti-communist. I think that's a important thing. I don't expect everybody to be a communist. But the bare minimum, I think, is that if you are not a fascist, why are you being anti-communist? Right? That's what I don't understand. Because Anti-communism is fascism. It is a fascist ideology. Fascism was created to be anti-communist. It is a specifically anti-communist ideology. So when liberals are out here doing anti-communism work for free, like, the most important thing we can do is find a way to push back on that. So I think normalizing communism, being like, look, yeah, like being normal about people, communists who did good things, right? Not whitewashing them. Like when you talk about the Black Panther Party to kids and what they did, and be like, and they were communists. Just be neutral about it. Just throw it in as a neutral fact. Things like that, I think, is helpful. Yeah, fascism was also anti-liberal. That is true. Because fascism correctly identified, as communists did, that liberal capitalism cannot, it's unsustainable. By nature of its own structure, it's unsustainable. They were just like, so we got to double down extra harder so rich people can keep making money. Literally it. Oh, your mom was born in 1955 and she did not know the Black Panthers were communists. You had to tell her. Wow. Very, very interesting. Yes. We're doing millennial cheeseburger humor in real chat. How many people do we have in here in real chat today? $173. Okay, we're getting there. Not so bad. Okay, so here's where I start to make the pitch to you guys. If you want to learn more about politics, if you want to learn more about what AIPAC's got their hands into, because it's not just Israel, it's all sorts of weird shit. If you want to learn more about how Cuba has to do with Israel, has to do with the USSR, has to do with Korea, all of this stuff, come join us. Come join us over on my Twitch stream. We're going to be talking about current events today. And you'll learn a lot about what's going on in the world. I've even found it immensely helpful just going through current events for a set timeline every day. It helps me stay more aware of what's going on. So I think you'll enjoy it. And there is a Q&A period over there right when you join where I'll answer more of your questions if you have any. So also, if you just like watching live streamers, I tell people this, I just think Twitch is a better app for live streaming. Like, as somebody who has streamed on both TikTok and Twitch, it's just, you could tell it's an app built for live streaming versus this TikTok just try to add streaming in as like a cash grab opportunity. You know, you can really see the difference. So come over there, join us there, and we'll be talking about politics. So it's twitch.tv/Madeline Pendleton, same as here, but with no underscore. And I think you'll enjoy it. If you enjoy learning things about the world that rich guys don't want you to know, that's what we talk about. That's what we talk about pretty much the whole time. Yeah. So, your last day's school's ready. Yay. So, come on over. Come join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Madeline Pendleton. West Juche Gang is on Twitch, not live on TikTok. It's true. And our chat is there. Our chat is actually really good and smart and cool, and I like them a lot. And there's a Discord also available that you can join after the stream to keep learning more and keep figuring out what's going on in the world, basically. Thank you, Co. Yay! I'm so glad to hear that, Ellie. Thank you. So come on over. Come join us, and I'm going to hang up with you guys here now. Okay? So, come there. Thank you, Co. Thank you, Co. Come. We could talk about the Looks Magazine guy if you want. That OD'd. Come. Ending now. Chat. The Cuban Americans are on me right now. They're so mad. I made them so mad. They're making their little videos. They're so... I know, the Looks Magazine guy OD. Did he die? Yeah, the Gusanos are very upset. The Gusano Americans. Pound. I do remember the side parts. We're talking about millennial things. Ukuleles. American Apparel Bandeau tops. The American Apparel Deep V. Fixed gear bikes. The headbands that go this way. Car sent us something we'll look at for a second. Let's see. Chevron. Chevron. Chevron still exists. We did not give you Chevron. Let's watch Car's thing really fast and then we'll do Q&A. What? What? Is this the anarchists? Are they anarchists? Yes, they are anarchists. Wow. This is crazy. Teachers are like prison guards. What an idiot. Okay, we got 2 first-time chats. I'm going to set actually a timer, and we're going to do a 10-minute Q&A. We're doing it now. Go. Okay. So the first question is, how do you think gambling should be handled? I'm really interested in your thoughts because I know gambling is apparently really big in China. I think that gambling will, like many things, still be present during the transition phases out of capitalism into communism. But ultimately, as you build up your social safety net, it'll become less and less appealing to people. Okay, next. What do we think of a Maoist ideology? We as Marxist-Leninists like Mao. We love Mao. But a Maoist ideology believes that China stopped being socialist after Mao, that the Dengist reforms somehow were anti-communist, which is bullshit. It's very textbook Marxist-Leninism. So I'm not a Maoist, but I do like Mao. All right, what else we got? Any other questions? How to get literate. Start by reading short stories or short essays, short articles if you're out of practice, and build yourself up from there. Like I said, there's periods in my life where I've been really checked out politically, and when I get back into reading, I'm like, oh, why does it feel like a slog? You know, I gotta like get through it. I just start reading short text and then build up my reading tolerance again. I am very much a Dengist. I mean, Deng lifted 800 million people out of poverty. I didn't, so what, am I not going to listen to him? Come on. Okay, your girlfriend is super anti-Stalin, but said she would read any book combating the propaganda if I bought her one. What would you recommend? Khrushchev Lied. Would the whole chat recommend Khrushchev Lied by Grover Furr? That's what I would recommend. Lilith said the same thing. Khrushchev Lied by Grover Furr. Yeah. How do we dismantle the United States of Israel? You can't stop. Manifest destiny. God gave it to us. Try to stop us. You can't. You can't stop Fresno. That's what I'm saying. What do you think about Romania when it was communist? Vespera. You know, look. A lot of people say it's not Cusco, which is how I've read it my whole life. It's Chescow. Somebody save me. Chescow. Somebody, chat, please help me. What is Romania? Kushkow, couch. How do you actually say it? Somebody. Romania, communist man. Ceausescu. Thank you, Pisreal. Ceausescu. Okay, look. Most people say Ceausescu was not the best of the potential communist leaders. Okay, that's a lot of people's assessment. However, that said, the nostalgia for communism in Romania is still off the charts, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. And this is an example where it's like even communism done not super well is still better than capitalism done great by capitalist standards. So I'm going to show you guys this. Oh, here we go. Yahoo News. Shock poll claims Romanians are nostalgic for communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. Did I do it? I think I did. Yeah, so this is an INSCOP research survey. 66% of Romanians believe that he was a good leader, with only 24% saying he was bad. 55.8% of respondents said communism was a good thing for Romania, and only 34% disagreed. And yeah, so this is kind of the research that went into it. All right, and so what you really see is that even somebody that leaders are like, other communists are like, maybe he could have done better. Okay, yeah, right. My partner is really into environmentalism and is really mad about what Ceausescu did to some lake because his wife hated lakes or something. His wife was in some peak liberal behavior, and he was like a wife guy, so he's like, my wife hates this lake, fuck this lake or whatever. You know, my partner's like, yeah, I don't think he was the best because, like, he tanked the environment, blah, 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 right? Whatever. You can find particular utility in going in on the policy failures of communist leaders if you would like. I don't find particular utility in that. But even taking that into account, Romanians miss him, right? Romanians miss communism. Okay, what else? We got any other questions? Yeah, apparently he was just like some white guy. She also hated public transportation because she grew up super poor, and she was like, they're just too lazy to walk like I walked, so fuck public transportation. Apparently, she had personal vendettas against everything. You saw Trotsky complaining that Grover Furr doesn't give good sources for Trotsky being a Nazi collaborator in the book. I bet they did. I bet they did complain about that. I bet they did think that. Do I agree we should nuke England? I don't know. Is there an English voice in the chat that I can uplift, Car? If there's an English voice in the chat that says we need to nuke England for freedom, I'll agree with them uncritically. You were the English voice who asked, I know, but are you telling me? You ask. I don't know. I need to wait for an English person to tell me what to do. I can't speak over your voice. I have seen that we're buying Spirit Airlines. You're trans and you say nuke England. Well, listen to trans voices. We have to. We have English people and trans people saying we need to nuke England. So I guess it's got to happen. Yeah. Okay, so Z, you're confused. What is Ukraine doing wrong again? So Ukraine suffered a coup at the end of 2013, the beginning of 2014, and they were overtaken by right-wing freaks, including a group of Nazis. So I'll just show you this. Let me just show you this really fast. These are statues honoring a Nazi that were built after that coup. Map. They're just showing me pictures of the Nazis. Nazi statues. Hold on. Okay. These are all statues they started building honoring a Nazi after they won that coup, by the way. These are all Nazi statues. So they're weirdo. They made it illegal to be a leftist, illegal to have left-wing politics. They started locking people up. And then they let this group of Nazis just run around terrorizing people who weren't ethnically Ukrainian enough. So, yeah, that was up with them. Don't let me trick you into Fed posting. Oh, we have 2 trans people, though, who do say we need to nuke England. So, I'm just saying. Okay. What you read as someone who's trying to learn more about communism, but is also not the best reader. I'm going to show you the first thing I always recommend to people. Everybody knows when it is in the chat, but I'm going to explain to you. I'm going to show it to you and explain to you why I think it's easy for you to read as someone who's not the best reader. So this is the first draft of the Communist Manifesto, and the reason I recommend this to people is because not much content changed, but the format changed. And I actually think the original format of the first draft is better for like our ADHD ping pong brains today in 2026. It didn't hit with the masses in 1847, the newer version did, but for 2026, I think it works for us. So it's written like a Q&A, just like this. What is communism? And then answers. And then every answer will give you a new question. Communism is the doctrine of the conditions of the liberation of the proletariat. And you'll be like, well, what the fuck does that mean? So the next question is, well, what's the proletariat? And it just takes you on this journey. It's pretty short. It's pretty easy to read. And you'll learn all the basics you need to know. So that is what I always recommend first. Yeah, everybody wants to talk about North Korea and Ukraine. And Cuba now. Yes. I also agree, like, if you don't want to read any of the deprogram. Any of the deprogram guys are good. They're solid. We don't know the topic for today yet. We're going to do Weapons Wednesday, and we have a minute and a half left on general Q&A. The real transition is nuking England. Okay, we got time for one more. And camp map's going to be at the end. We're going to add 1 country per day to the camp map until it's done. So it'll be Maps May. This link you can find in my entry-level reading list, which is on my link tree. So go to fork.tanky.org. Right? Is that right? Oh, no, that's the Discord. Can you explain why my friend thinks China is harvesting organs? I know it has something to do with Falun Gong, but okay, how? Did Falun Gong create this? Yeah. Okay, forced organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners? I have no idea. In 2015, China banned harvesting organs from executed prisoners. I feel like if the only thing you can be mad at China about is that they took organs out of dead people, I'm not that mad about that. That is a zero. They took organs out of dead people to save other people's lives. That's our example of China being big bad. I'm not too upset about that. I think that the Israeli IDF semen thing is way weirder. Big Gakko, you take that back. You take that back or we put you in timeout. Okay, that's it. That's our Q&A. That's our Q&A. All right. Okay, everybody, welcome to the stream. Today is Wednesday, which means we will start off the stream today with a little conversation about weapons that are relevant to our understanding of the news. Does anybody have any weapons they would like to submit for us to discuss? That having an understanding of them would help us better understand current events. Anyone have anything? Napalm, re-entry from last week. Okay, I'm going to get the first 5 Rex. I'm also going to do AI. What was the AI weapon thing? Weapons Anthropic. I'm going to bring that one back from last week. I liked that one. Agent Orange. Agent Orange. Got that in there. We need 2 more. Any other possible Iranian kamikaze dolphins? This is the kamikaze dolphins. Oh my God. Amazing. Kamikaze dolphins. Thank you, the Kami Jesus. White phosphorus we did already. We have an older one on that. DDT. Interesting DDT. But DDT's not really used as a weapon though, right? Has it been? Palantir General. Palantir General is not bad. Is that the same as Anthropic? That's different. That's a different firm. Okay. I think we've got 5. We've got 5. Virgo, are you ready for a poll? A weapon to the bees. Drugs as a weapon would be interesting because we get into all the Gary Webb stuff. No, we did not already do Palantir because I don't know much about Palantir. American tourist plagues as bioweapons. Oh, in light of the recent hantavirus. Okay, the poll options are Napalm, Anthropic, Agent Orange, Suicide Dolphin, Kamikaze Dolphin, and Palantir. We did not do Palantir because I don't know anything about Palantir. We did read their manifesto. About Mecha Hitler, because we talked about how we needed to make Mecha Stalin. All right, everybody, we're getting the poll going. What was Hegel's big dialecticals rack? We only have room for 5. What was Hegel big dialecticals? What was the rack? I missed it. Suicide cardboard drones? Is that real? Oh my God, it is real. Japan is building cardboard suicide drones. What the heck? That's crazy. Okay, we'll put the suicide drones with the dolphin drones. If you vote for dolphin, you get cardboard as well. How about that? I don't know why. You just do. A vote for dolphin is a vote for cardboard. Yeah, I'm going to cry if we talk about napalm for sure. I got a pimple on my arm. I always wonder, I'm like, why? Why there? Why not there more? If you can get one there ever, why not more? Why does it only happen once in a while? I don't understand. The kamikaze dolphins are US Navy CIA veterans. Chat always picks things that aren't weapons. That's so true. There's a motor inside the cardboard. The pores are different, but so I'm just bound to get kind of a pimple on my arm once in a while every year until I die. Yeah, this is now a pimple popping channel. Sorry, guys. If you thought the mukbang was bad. Well, we're going to find the Palantir weapon tech. We'll specify. We'll specify. The Palantir one is going to be... Hold on. It's going to be this. Oops, sorry. Palantir, Pentagon to adopt Palantir AI as core U.S. military system. I would love to be a pimple popping account. Okay. See, well, dang, let China have economic zones which interact with Western capital through collaborative trade. The key in this willing West. The West never let DPRK interact with it. True. I don't know what this is in reference to, but I'm not mad at this. DPRK has never known anything besides sanctions. The West has never opened up to them. Instead, DPRK trades with countries like China and Russia, and they do have special economic zones for their trade with China. But the focus was never on integrating. The Korean War never ended. Yes. DPRK through Juche philosophy focused on indigenous industry and self-sufficiency. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes. So, true. We have a tie? Oh my god, we've never had a tie. If anybody wants to vote, get your votes in now. Kamikaze Dolphin or Palantir. We need, like, one more person. One more. Oh. A few seconds left. Oh my god, it's tied again. If it's tied again, I'm going to cast the tie-breaking vote. Oh, Palantir won. Palantir won at the last minute. Oh. Okay. Wow, that was thrilling. That was the wildest poll we've ever had. Remember the Dolphins for next week, chat. Remember the Dolphins for next week. So Lilith said so long. Thanks for all the shoes. Well, cardboard, Dolphins, we'll get to it. Don't you worry. We'll get to it. All right. So today for Weapons Wednesday, we will be discussing the Pentagon adopting Palantir AI as the core U.S. military system. Palantir's Maven artificial intelligence system, this is really the thing, will become an official program of record, Deputy Secretary of Defense Steve Feinberg said in a letter to Pentagon leaders, a move that locks in long-term use of Palantir's weapons targeting technology across the U.S. military. In a March 9th letter to senior Pentagon leaders and U.S. military commanders, Feinberg said embedding Palantir's Maven smart system would provide warfighters, quote, with the latest tools necessary to detect, deter, and dominate our adversaries in all domains. I don't know, chat, though. Didn't we just watch that video where AI kept saying that there was an X in the middle of the spelling of all of the month names? I don't really know. I don't think it's ready for that. I don't think AI is ready or capable of dominating adversaries in any domain. Okay. So the decision is expected to go into effect by the close of the current fiscal year, which ends in September, according to the letter, which was reviewed by Reuters and has not been previously reported. Maven is, and also just for the date on this, this is from a month and a half ago. So not too old, but not too current, all right? Maven is a command and control software platform that analyzes battlefield data and identifies targets. It's already the primary AI operating system for the U.S. military, which has carried out thousands of targeted strikes against Iran over the last 3 weeks. Well, look how well that's going for us. Designated Maven as a program of record will streamline its adoption across all arms of the military and provide stable, long-term funding, Feinberg said. The memo ordered oversight of Maven be moved from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency to the Pentagon's Chief Digital Artificial Intelligence Office within 30 days. Now, I want to talk about this for a second. This is the same kind of thing with Oracle. Oracle was a tech company that was getting used a lot by the U.S. government. And at a certain point in CIA records, you can, and Oracle being obviously the company that bought TikTok. So you can see a moment where there's memos going back and forth between the CIA and somebody. And if you want, you can scroll back at my TikTok videos, and they removed the audio from the video. This is a while ago I posted this, but I show the actual document from the CIA in there, and the subtitles are still on, so you can still understand the video. But basically, there became a moment where Oracle, which was technically a private company, needed something that was top secret information to be able to do what it needed to do to serve the U.S. government. And the CIA basically writes this letter that is like, they're basically us, so just give it to them. Like, if anybody ever gets mad, like, they're us. So we'll just argue we have clearance, so they have clearance. So this is really interesting because oversight of Maven is now getting moved to the Pentagon's Chief Digital Artificial Intelligence Office. I imagine this being something in the future where if Palantir needs access to some top secret information to be able to do something for the U.S. government is probably going to be like, they're basically us, just give it to them. So I think this is just an interesting parallel to draw there. So future contracting with Palantir will be handled by the Army, the letter said. Again, that's just my speculation that'll happen based on what I've seen previously. So I just want to confirm. I don't know for certain there's actually legal maneuvers where this will happen, but this is my speculation based on what I've seen occur in the past with similar companies and their relationships with the United States. So we have a quote here from Feinberg that says, "It is imperative that we invest now and with focus to deepen integration of artificial intelligence across the joint force and establish AI-enabled decision-making as the cornerstone of our strategy." Palantir and the Pentagon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Feinberg's order is a significant win for Palantir, which has landed a growing stream of contracts with the U.S. government, including a deal announced last summer with the U.S. Army worth up to $10 billion. Those awards have helped double the company's stock price in the past year, lifting its market value up to nearly $360 million. So I just want to also point this out because I have to. $10 billion contract the U.S. Army is giving to Palantir for AI. The estimated cost to end hunger and homelessness in the United States each is around $25 billion per year. So that's almost half of your budget to end homelessness in the United States per year being spent on a weapons contract for AI. And we all know the stage AI development is currently in. It's not great. It's not great. Oh, somebody's at my front door. Hold, please. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Don't open it. It was somebody asking for me by name. I always just say that I moved. Do you guys not do that? Whenever somebody's like, "Is Madeline Hansen here?" I'm like, "They moved." I don't know who that is. Do you guys not do that? That's what I always do. I've always done that. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Because I'm like, I don't want him coming back if I don't answer. You can leave it in if you got something for me, you can leave it in the mailbox. I don't know. Move to Mexico. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I've never had any problems with it. You told your mom's debt collector she died. My first instinct is always to lie to people. If somebody is like an authority figure of some kind or I don't want to deal with something, I lie to people. And this is something that I told one of my friends once, coworkers once. I was like, she was talking about like how she deals with the police and obsess her so much. I was like, the police don't know you're smart, right? And she was like, what? And I was like, they have no idea you're smart. Like, I know you're very, very smart. You're one of the smartest people on the planet. They don't know that. They don't know you. You could just be stupid. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, you could literally just be the dumbest person on the planet. They don't know you. Like, you could pretend to be literally the stupidest person on the planet and just be like, I don't know. What? What are you talking? What? Like, what are they going to do? Be like, I think you're smarter than you're acting. Like, they can't. So that's what I just pretend to be really, really dumb and not know what's going on. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's very, very funny. Okay, Cara, I think we should, we'll watch it, but hold on to it until we're done with this, maybe. Yeah, so I'm like, I lie to authority figures and I pretend to be real dumb. I'm like, I just don't want to deal, I don't need to deal with anything. It's my thing. Okay. So next up on this. Maven can rapidly analyze huge amounts of data from satellites, drones, radars, sensors, and intelligence reports and use AI to automatically identify potential threats or targets like enemy military vehicles, buildings, and weapon stockpiles. During a presentation at a Palantir event earlier this month, Pentagon official Cameron Stanley, who leads its AI office, demonstrated how the company's Maven platform could be used for weapons targeting in the Middle East, and he showed heat map screenshots from the Maven platform. So we want to use this to kill brown children. Big surprise. When we started this, it literally took hours to do what you just saw, he said, according to a YouTube video uploaded by the company last week. UN expert panels have warned AI weapons targeting without human intervention raises ethical, legal, and security risks since AI picks up inadvertent biases from the data sets used to train it. Palantir says its software does not make lethal decisions and humans remain responsible for selecting and approving targets. Palantir developed its AI system to serve the Pentagon's Project Maven, which began as a drone imagery labeling program in 2017. In 2024, the Pentagon awarded Palantir a contract worth up to $480 million. And Karl Marx is at my door. I'll wish. Okay, so that year, Palantir's chief technology officer, Shyam Sankar, told the House Armed Services Committee that Maven had tens of thousands of users and urged Congress to provide more funding. In May of 2025, the Pentagon increased the contract ceiling to $1.3 billion. One potential complication in deeper Maven adoption is the software's use of the Anthropic-made Claude AI tool. Anthropic was recently deemed a supply chain risk by the Pentagon amid a months-long spat over safety guardrails surrounding the AI. Okay, so very, very interesting. This is what we've got going on here. And I'm not innovating for the Alliance. They're going full mask off, just like, evil Star Wars? It's like evil what is the branding of this? Maven Smart System, innovating for the Alliance. It's like Stormship Troopers. Have you guys seen Stormship Troopers? That is what this feels like. This feels like a parody of American culture. I do not understand what's going on. So this is from the Palantir blog. Exploiting the power of AI detections with Saffron.ai. And then, is this a French flag? My people, the French, do not approve of this. This is cultural appropriation of me, the French. Starship Troopers, that's what it is. Starship Troopers, yeah, I don't know what I said, but Starship Troopers, yes. What did I say? Who knows? That was 5 seconds ago. I don't remember what I actually said. Yeah, Starship Troopers is what it feels like. But yes, okay, so this is crazy. Also, the idea that, like, this is just what you look at while you kill people is mind-blowing to me. Right? Like, this is your screen? This looks like OBS. This looks like you're live streaming. It's, like, such detachment from the violence, which I think is very psychologically interesting, because we all know that, like, in World War II, the soldiers had a really hard time killing other human beings. That's why we had to get them all jacked up on meth and dehumanize the enemy, because out on the field, soldiers would just shoot their guns at the sky because they didn't want to kill another person. And this makes it so easy for you to get over that in your head. Like, you can forget you're killing people. Like, you're just clicking red boxes on a screen, right? And I think that's also a really interesting component of this. It's a video game. They're playing video games, exactly. Okay, both articles are about the same topic. Are they both, sorry. Oh, no, it's the voting right. No, we're just on this right now. We're just on this. Hold all other recommendations, please, for a moment. But yeah, so, and here's the thing. So somebody said China and Iran are big on AI too. And I was talking to a Chinese mutual that I have on TikTok about AI. And I've told this story before. And what they said was like, oh, it's really interesting the relationship Americans have with AI versus Chinese people have with AI. Because in China, AI is viewed as something that can potentially improve our quality of life and make our lives easier. In the United States, it's viewed as something used to harm you. And it's because of our government's different relationship with business in general and with technology and with AI as a result of that, which I thought was super fascinating. Because you think about it, under a capitalist government, everything that gets developed, all technology that gets developed is going to be used to advance capitalism. So what are the core tenets of capitalism, right? Capitalism means exploitation of the working class in their workplaces. It means exploitation and price gouging of things like homes and healthcare and education. It means advancing the police state to crack down on dissent for anybody who dares speak out against the ruling oligarchy. So AI is just one more tool that all of these rich guys have in their pockets to continue to oppress and harm average everyday people, right? AI becomes a tool of the bourgeoisie to be levied against the proletariat for the bourgeoisie's goals and interests. And because the bourgeoisie is controlling AI, it's a tool for them. Now, in China, because they've had a worker revolution, it's true they might not yet be in a socialist mode of production. However, in a state capitalist mode of production, there's still so much state management over business, right? 60% of the market cap, I believe, I believe it's 60%. The majority of the market cap, definitely, in China is involves state ownership of some kind. So, and the state there obviously is a worker state, right? So he was like, yeah, in China, we control AI because we have a worker government. So the AI is there to serve us. It's there to serve the workers. And just having that relationship to your government shifts how it's utilized. Now, another thing we know, obviously, is that the environmental concerns about AI use here in the United States, they don't really have them in China because China is doing such rapid developments towards green energy. How much energy AI data centers are using in China right now, it's not really of concern to them. If it becomes of concern to them, they'll shift things, they'll alter things because their ecological goals, their green energy goals are planned in conjunction with their business development goals. And this is what we saw with Bitcoin, for example, when Bitcoin's energy suck became incompatible with the climate goals that China had. China was like, this actually is not beneficial to our government, to our country, to our people. So it's illegal to mine Bitcoin in China now. And they literally just made it illegal because it was incompatible with their energy goals and because they assessed that it was not of vital importance to their people. That's another thing that they're able to do with AI right now. They're able to integrate AI into their culture in a way that is beneficial to their people and does not conflict with their energy goals, their climate goals. If that ever shifts, we have evidence that they would just stop doing it then, which I think is very, very interesting. So just having a conversation with a Chinese mutual about AI really opened my mind because this is something we talk about in my party too. We're not Luddites. We don't hate technological development. AI itself is not the problem. It is the fact that, like anything else, AI is being used as a weapon and a tool of oppression against the working class. It's being used here to price gouge renters by their landlords. Like we all know that there was that massive story that broke that landlords were using this AI-based software to determine the optimal rent to charge in the area, and it ended up just being price fixing. And price fixing is illegal in the United States because, surprise, surprise, the free market capitalism thing doesn't work. You have to introduce all these controls on it, and price fixing is one of them that we introduced to try to make capitalism hobble along longer. Well, AI was basically doing price fixing for landlords. So that's one example of how it's used. It's used by police officers, right? To target areas that they think are going to be prone to more crime. But the way it decides this is based on over-policing historically that has happened as police officers have targeted predominantly black neighborhoods in order to staff our privately owned prisons with black people to force them to do slave labor for companies like Victoria's Secret. Like, all of these things are connected. So I think that's just something very, very fascinating. We are afraid of AI, not because of AI itself, right? AI itself doesn't necessarily have to be used to do evil, but we know in our system, in capitalism, the bourgeoisie, the ruling class, will use it to do evil, and that is why we are terrified. We are terrified of new technology under capitalism because our first thought is, how are rich people going to use this to kill us, right? Because we know they are. They're going to use it to get money out of us or kill us. They're going to use it to make us poorer or kill us. That's their only goals. So, just an interesting thing to keep in mind. It doesn't have to be this way. You could live in a world where you're able to do all the AI photo shoots on that weird app you downloaded that your heart desires without worrying that you're killing the planet doing it. You could live in a world where you could ask a Gork every day, ask a Grok every day, right? Any question you want without worrying that you're literally destroying somebody's hometown, right? But we don't live in that world because we live in capitalism. So you don't get to have the fun AI apps. You don't get to have the app that makes it look like your mailman is doing a booty shake dance to Nicki Minaj. No, you don't get that because it's evil, because we're under capitalism, so AI is evil now, right? Gork, is this true? Yes. Well, you know how people love the AI apps? Like, do you remember there's like all these trends on TikTok for a while? You'll see people post like AI versions of themselves as like a Disney character. And everyone's like, but it's evil that you're doing that. You can't see yourself as a Disney character because it's evil. Yeah. Gork, fact check. So, yeah, I don't know. Very, very... very interesting. Do we have any more thoughts about AI as weapons? Because I think that covers everything I kind of want to know about it. I guess the only questions I would have is, how accurate is this? But I imagine it's just as accurate as any AI. Kind of ish. Right? Yeah, it's hard to say, paint silly, goofy entertainment as deadly and evil, right? But then you're like, well, it is. Right? And that's the big stigma against AI and capitalism. Like, oh, damn, like, You killed the planet for this? But they don't have that in China. Because they're like, well, we didn't kill the planet. It's all in renewable energy. So, I can make stupid AI memes and videos of myself all day long if I want. It's not killing my part of the planet. My government's managing that. It's reusable energy. Yeah, it's falsely getting people arrested, etc. It's doing all these horrible things. Right. Okay. So there's also the supply chain risk of Anthropic, which I think is interesting, that I think we should just look at really briefly. It's a short article. I would like to know this as follow-up. So the Pentagon slapped a formal supply chain risk designation on artificial intelligence lab Anthropic on Thursday, limiting use of technology that a source says was being used for military operations in Iran. And this is something that Palantir was using, part of their Anthropic AI. The supply chain risk label, confirmed in a statement by Anthropic, is effective immediately and bars government contractors from using Anthropic's technology in their work in the U.S. military. But companies can still use Anthropic's Claude in other projects unrelated to the Pentagon, CEO Dario Amodei wrote in the statement. He said the designation has a narrow scope and that the restrictions only apply to the use of Anthropic AI in Pentagon contracts. It plainly applies only to the use of Claude by customers as direct part of contracts with the Department of War, not all use of Claude by customers who have such contracts. So the risk designation follows a month-long dispute over the company's insistence on safeguards that the Defense Department, which the Trump administration calls the Department of War, said went too far. In his statement, Amodei reiterated that the company would challenge the designation in court. In recent days, Anthropic and the Pentagon have discussed possible plans for the Pentagon to stop using Claude, Amodei said in Thursday's statement. The two sides have talked about how Anthropic might still work with the military without dismantling its safeguards. However, in a post on X late Thursday, Pentagon Chief Technology Officer Emil Michael said that there was no active Department of Defense negotiation with Anthropic. When was this from? This was from March 5th, so also 2 months ago. Amodei also apologized for an internal memo published Wednesday by tech news site The Information. In the memo originally written last Friday, Amodei said Pentagon officials didn't like the company in part because, quote, we haven't given dictator-style praise to Trump. The internal memo's publication came out as Anthropic's investors were racing to contain the damage caused by the company's fallout with the Pentagon. The Defense Department did not immediately return requests for comments. Okay, so it's just Donald Trump's ego again. That makes sense. He's very emotional. Like a woman. Isn't he? Emotional like a woman. Okay. So does anybody have anything else supplemental they want to add? Kunzler Z is adding this to our chat about AI in the military. I'm opening it now. The military wants to host data centers in Alaska, raising questions about whether there's enough gas to power them. Got him. Take that, Trump. Boom. Okay, so the Air Force is saying you should build AI data centers in Alaska. There's nothing up there. Why not? What do they got? Mountains? Hardly anything's up there. Just plop them in. What can go wrong? There's something really charming about the United States approach to problem solving, right? It's just, it's so empty. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Flop them on some bases. Come on. Right? I love it. They'd save on cooling costs. They would. And that is a capitalist model. Why would you protect this beautiful, sprawling, untapped nature wonderland? It's cold. You're going to save on energy costs. But the data center's there. It's really, really funny. There's also a big data center plan for Utah in the news. Interesting. No, I didn't see that. Alaska has the highest indigenous population in all of the U.S. states. Exactly. Yeah, we don't care. We literally don't care. We're like, fuck them. Like, fuck these people. Get them out of the way. We're putting in the death machine's big brain. Death machine big brain go there. Get these people out of here. It's crazy. Very, very interesting. Absolutely wild. Okay. Well, there you go. That's what we got on our Weapons Wednesday update about Palantir, about AI, about Maven AI, and about how they have now made it a game for your 18-year-old nephew, who's all jacked up on Nick Fuentes and Monster Energy drink, to kill brown children in other countries with a click. Right? Yep. Anyway, who's trying to go on that Hantavirus cruise with Dookie Butt? That's crazy. I do like that Monster Energy drink somehow got like alternative culture coded. so funny. All right, guys. With that all wrapped up, let's move into our regularly scheduled topic for the day. So for anybody who is new, we are going to be talking about the news, and the way this goes is as follows. We will choose 5 topics and then vote on which one we are going to discuss. 5 news stories. The news stories can come from anywhere. They can be good sources. They can be bad sources. They can be weird sources. It can be just something you saw. They should be current. Try to keep it to news within the past week, I would say, ideally. And at a certain point, I will tell you, like, go. And then just the first 5 news stories that get linked in the chat are the ones we're going to vote from. All right, so everybody, if you have things you want to learn about, take a few seconds. Maybe, Car, can you send that thing you were talking about? And we'll watch it now while everybody gathers their links and gets ready. And then we'll watch that to give everybody a chance to get it together. Where was the Car one, though? I see yours, Bud Media, too. I just know Car had one. Don't send your news articles yet. We need a second. We need a second to give everybody the chance, so it's fair. So people aren't super prepared, you know? Not yet. Not yet. Not yet, everybody. Hold on. I didn't say go yet. I don't think Car's in here right now. I was gonna watch Car's Wreck, but I don't think they're in here right now. Okay. Well, if Car's not in here, we've wasted enough time. Get your links ready. Get your links ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Go. Now send them. Go. First 5. Go. Okay. All right. I'm opening. Let's see what we've got. Some of them might be, the same. We have GameStop's $56 billion pursuit of eBay. All right. That's very interesting to me. We have China floating wind turbine. Superpower. Okay, cool. Now we have India loses its last left-wing government after 5 decades. Oh, that's sad. All right. Utah data center. And Autistic Baddie 3 coming in with her 5th and final. Captcha. I've always got it Captcha. It's a Captcha. It's a horrible name. Trump orders military to pause Strait of Hormuz mission to allow time for peace talks. All right, we've got our top 5. We have our 5. So, Virgo, are you ready for us to do a vote? Are you ready? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, you can take a second. Oh, you're already ready. Okay, cool. All right. The options are GameStop's buying eBay. This is relevant to my interests as somebody who loves video games and eBay. Next, China wind energy. Look at it. It's so cute. India losing its major left-wing government. We'll say just India. Utah data center. So with a celebrity investor. Okay. And Iran updates. Strait of Hormuz. Gay of Hormuz updates. That's what we got. Okay. So, while Virgo gets this ready, if anybody has any slop content they would like to share with the stream, send it now. And we will watch it while the poll goes on. Okay, Ben Media, you've been sending this. I know. Okay, I love Deandre. I know how to say words and names. DeAndre.
No, please. We can work something out. It doesn't have to be me. Your whole thing is teenagers, right? You find the teenagers, you stalk them, you kill them. I know a lot of teenage girls, okay? I can take you to them. Yeah, I'll hide in the bushes and take pictures of them in their rooms and everything. You can pick whichever one you want. What? No, they're 17. Trust me, I'm sure. So Katie, her 18th is until the 19th. And Becca, she's March of next year. I thought it was this year, and I got into a little bit of trouble. But I know someone at the DA's office, so it was like, whatever. I kind of feel like you're judging me under there. I kind of feel like you're judging me under the mask. Because see, the Romeo and Juliet law states that I actually have it in my wallet. I can show you. Or my neighbor just had a baby. You can kill that. Yeah, I mean, it'd be different if she was still pregnant. But, as long as she popped it out, everyone knows it doesn't matter after that. No? Too young? That wouldn't do anything for you? I mean, it would definitely work for me. Again, with the theatrics, you think you're better than me? Or something? Like, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. Okay, come on. You hurt kids, I hurt kids. We can team up. Yeah, you, me, Lindsey Graham, Matt Gaetz, that dying turtle in Congress. What the fuck's his name? Lauren Boebert. I hear she loves doing weird shit in front of kids. No, please. I should have fled with the others to Israel. No, please. You don't want to hurt me. Okay, look, what is this about? Epstein flight logs? African freedom fighter? Libyan revenge for Gaddafi? One of Bill's victims that none of my atrocity. Random? Okay, well, you have options. There's a killable colored family down the street. You can. What? Oh, colored. God, you can't say shit anymore. Okay, fine. Super predators. Oh my God, we got Wokey McWokerton over here. I would have voted for Obama a third time if I could. You know that, right? Okay, well, what happens now? You gonna have your way with me? Don't do that. I'm desirable. You know how many men line up for this? God, Bill lucky as hell. He can't keep his fucking hands off me. You better ask somebody. Hey, do not make that joke. I already know where this is going. God, you people are relentless. Look, is it money? Because I can give you money. I can give you some money. We don't have a lot of that. Trump doesn't blow for free, so. Okay. Look, I want you to think long and hard about if this is something you really want to do. You're creating a murder. You're about to have the might of every insufferable neoliberal rad film at your doorstep. A wave of pussy hats of which this world has never seen. You're creating 1,000,000 Hillary Clintons. Another 100 billion to Israel.
Okay. We still have our poll going on in the chat. Few minutes left. Right now it looks like Gay of Hormuz updates are winning. So yeah, solidarity to the 7 people who voted for China's wind energy. But it does look like the Gay of Hormuz updates are what's up. So get your votes in. Get your votes in now. Anybody submitting news stories right now, we already did our top 5. They're suitable for polling. So right now we're only doing any slop content you would like to share with the chat while the poll goes on. Oh, yeah. Oh, Hegel's Big Dialecticals. Can we do a small Thiago Avila and Saeed video just to keep people's awareness? Worried Israel might try to get the dots on it. Yeah, let's watch that. Great. Not slop content, but content for us to watch nonetheless. Video content. I should say video content, not slop necessarily.
Of the 2 humanitarian activists, Thiago Avila and Saif Abu Kish. The court granted 6 more days in detention, and that is the whole period of time requested by the persecution. Adala legal team argued that the whole procedure is unlawful, and therefore the 2 activists should be released immediately. We are speaking about 2 activists that were abducted in international water by the Israeli authorities as part of a humanitarian mission to break the illegal siege on Gaza and to enter humanitarian aid to the civilian population in Gaza. This is a clear attempt to criminalize and to persecute a humanitarian mission. We also highlighted during the court hearing that the 2 activists are entering their 7th day of hunger strike. They should be released immediately. We will submit an appeal to the district court challenging this decision and to demand again the release of the 2 activists. We just finished
Muted. Sorry. I was just reading Hegel's Big Dialecticals. Message out loud. Sorry, I forgot I was on mute. Thiago's mother passed away yesterday after Israel said to Thiago that they would kill his family during torture and showed pictures taken by spies. Yeah. Just wild. Just absolutely horrible. So sad. This is so brutal. The brutality. Oh, awful. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to get to an adjacently related news story for today. The one that won in the poll is Trump orders military to pause Strait of Hormuz mission to allow time for peace talks. So let's get into our Iran updates. This was updated today at 8:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is now 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I did my math correct. Yes. And let's get into it. So, global stocks jumped and oil prices fell in reaction to Trump's statement, which hailed great progress toward a peace deal. The mission, dubbed Project Freedom, had just begun. Of course, they called it Project Freedom. Look at this guy, also. I just want to say, like, in terms of, like, fashy iconography, like, I feel like we could see this on a poster hanging in some edgelord college kid's dorm room. You know, like, we want you to hate immigrants, or you know what I mean? I'm just like, this is quite a fucking image with that. We got the eagle, we got the American flag, we got Department of War. Like, this is one for the history books. Really, this is really just that dark kind of comedy. This is tickling my funny bone in like a haha sad kind of way. This is wild. Yeah, okay. So I just want to point that out for everyone. So President Donald Trump said he was pausing the military's new operation to clear a transit path through the Strait of Hormuz for commercial vessels, halting a mission that had only just begun, even as more than 1,500 commercial ships are still waiting to get through Iran's closure of the critical waterway. 1,500 commercial ships. Yeah, he is serving fascist vogue. Global stocks jumped and oil prices fell Wednesday in reaction to Trump's statement, in which he hailed great progress towards a peace deal. S&P 500 futures were up nearly 1% in the early morning. I feel like a bug just flew up my nose. I'm going to choose to believe it didn't, because not vegan. With gains in major European and Asian indexes as well. The price of Brent crude oil, the global benchmark, was down about 9% to just under $100 per barrel. Trump said the pause comes at the request of Pakistan and other countries and means that U.S. military operations, including using warships to clear a path through the strait, will be halted, quote, for a short period of time to see whether or not the peace agreement can be finalized and signed, Trump wrote on social media. Do you guys really think Pakistan is the reason? I just can't imagine the United States being like, we're gonna fucking do it, and then Pakistan being like, hi, United States. Could you not? And us being like, oh, shit. Well, I guess we can't now. I really feel like we were, like, embarking on this mission, and it ended up being, like, way harder than we thought or something. And then we were like, we'll just fucking say Pakistan told us not to. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure we realized this was harder than we thought it would be, and we're looking for a convenient out. That's, like, the story of this whole Iran operation. Oh my god. Wait, can you guys see Masterer Debater? They're like obsessed with this topic that's not related to anything we're discussing today. I don't know if you guys can see it or just me and Virgo. But they've been commenting like spam like every 10 seconds about a Ukraine-Russia topic. And now they're back with like a new username. You cannot. It's been wild to watch. Virgo and I keep seeing it. We're just like, okay. It's crazy. They made multiple accounts. Yeah, that's the private war Virgo's been fighting for you all on the front lines of the Twitch chat that you don't see. I just want to make sure Virgo's hard work does not go unnoticed because it's been wild. 4 accounts they've made. It's so funny. Okay, anyway, so everybody thank your mods right now. That was wild. You don't even have to see it. You don't even know. You're blissfully unaware. Amazing. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so I'm calling bullshit on this. The pause is coming at the request of Pakistan. I don't fucking think so. I think you tried to swing big dick energy in the Strait of Hormuz with your warships and realized they weren't going to make it. And then you were like, we need it out. Abort mission. So it also really seems that the United States is desperate for a peace agreement still, that Iran is not. It just still feels like Iran is like, whatever, man, you said do the war. We're doing the war. And Trump is like floundering, looking for all these reasons that the peace agreement's going to come. It's like, you really want the peace agreement? You really fucked up. So in the immediate term, that means that while the U.S. Navy's interdictions of ships that have entered Iranian ports will continue, the air and sea-based operations to clear the strait for commercial vessels are now on hold, Trump said. Both sides have exchanged fire in the past day over the strait. On Wednesday morning, Trump followed up with another post saying that the war and the U.S. blockade could end if Iran agrees to, quote, what has been agreed to? I don't think anything's been agreed to. If not, quote, the bombing starts. He said, and it will be, sadly, at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Like, we were just playing softball before? I don't understand. If we could have been bombing them at a higher level and intensity, why would we not have just done that already? Like, we were just only doing kind of war before, is what he's trying to claim? None of this shit makes sense. What a fucking loser. If one of the latest attacks on commercial ships, French firm CGM confirmed Wednesday that confirmed that one of its vessels, the San Antonio, was attacked while transiting the strait a day early. Well, as a French person, they had that coming. Resulting in injuries to crew members and damage to the vessel. The injured crew members have been evacuated and are provided with the necessary medical care, it said in a statement to the Washington Post. Emergency emote only chat. A spokesperson for U.S. Central Command, which is responsible for the transit clearing and the ongoing blockade, referred questions to the pause back to the White House. Maybe they did. They're like, just ask the White House. We don't fucking know. We don't fucking know. Trump's announcement followed two news conferences Tuesday, one at the Pentagon and one at the White House, where the administration touted the effectiveness of the new military operation and strived to convince reporters that the new mission, dubbed Project Freedom, because the jokes write themselves, was working. Despite Iran firing missiles and drones at U.S. ships and the initial day of transit clearing, and the U.S. destroying at least 6 Iranian fast boats in return. Okay, I just really have to hit this home from a branding perspective. This guy, this man, Department of War, this man is here to talk to you about Project Freedom. If I wrote this in a sci-fi movie, if I was like, the year is 2060, the United States has descended into fascism. We have a Department of War now, and a man who looks like this is telling you that we've got to bomb them for Project Freedom. You would say that was a bad movie, right? If I made that movie, you would be like, that's a bad movie. That's too cheesy. It's not creative enough. It's kind of embarrassing. That movie would not get greenlit. But that's just what they're actually, that's real. Like, that's a real thing that's happening right now. It's idiocracy. It totally is. You would think this was bad if it was fiction, but it is not. And it's just absolutely bonkers. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio, not Cuban, addressing reporters from the White House, said the administration had moved past Operation Epic Fury, the Trump administration's name for the war with Iran. It is literally Starship Troopers. It is literally. The White House has argued that it ended the operation in April, short of the deadline set under the War Powers Resolution, the law that aims to constrain a president's military powers. We're done with this stage of it, he said. Okay, now we're on to Project Freedom. Operation Epic Fury, that's done. Now, Project Freedom is what we're doing. Earlier Tuesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that the U.S. mission to protect commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz would be temporary and that other nations would soon have to take up responsibility. Get out there, France! Start fighting. He also emphasized that the fragile ceasefire with Iran remained in place despite the ship attacks. Speaking at a briefing alongside General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Hegseth said that the United States had established a powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait as a direct gift to other nations to allow commercial ships to pass through. Shut the fuck up. This is so stupid. Oh my god, this is so dumb. Holy fucking shit. This operation is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury. Okay, guys, so the red, white, and blue dome over the strait that's a gift to other countries, that's part of Operation Freedom. Project Freedom. Sorry, Project Freedom. It's not Operation War, it's a project. project sounds a little more accurate. It's like a craft thing you work on with like your neighbor's kids when you're babysitting or something. That's the equivalent of what they're pulling off over here. Wild. This operation is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury, he said. He described the effort to help commercial ships navigate the narrow strait as a temporary mission for U.S. forces. We expect the world to step up at the appropriate time, and soon we will hand responsibility back to you. I think this is because, remember, they were trying to get everybody to join in. Like, they thought it would be like fucking superheroes, like coming together, like joint attack. Like, they put their rings together and they transform into one much larger superhero. I think we really thought NATO would show up to have our back in this. But like, it's not a defense project, it's an offense project. So all the NATO countries were like, we don't really want to get involved in that. That's a whole ass mess, right? So I think what's happening right now is Trump is trying to be like, this mess we've created affects you too, so you will have to step in to help. I think Trump is literally trying to peer pressure Europe to come join in this fuck-ass war with him. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. So Kane said that more than 22,500 mariners on more than 1,550 commercial ships are waiting to transit the strait, and that Central Command, which oversees U.S. military operations in the region, had established an enhanced security area on the southern side of the strait protected by U.S. forces. Since the ceasefire was announced, Iran has fired at commercial vessels 9 times, seized 2, and attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times, Kane said, all below the threshold of restarting major combat operations at this point. The ceasefire is not over, Hegseth said. Trump, speaking later at the White House, declined to say what Iranian actions would constitute a ceasefire violation. So sorry. Iran has fired at commercial vessels 9 times. Iran has seized 2 boats and attacked the United States 10 times. And Hegseth is like, well, it's still a ceasefire if you think about it. And then when somebody asked Donald Trump, well, if that doesn't violate the ceasefire, what does? He's like, he says, well, you'll find out because I'll let you know. That's fine. Oh my God. Trump, as he has in recent days, sought to downplay the significance of the unresolved conflict. You know, we had an all-time high stock market today. Despite that word, a little skirmish military. Trump said, I call it a skirmish because Iran has no chance. They, I think, have shown not only do they have all the chances, they are holding all the cards. So Kane and Hegseth said that the fast boats Iran used to try to attack the vessels were only using small arms, rifles, or machine guns, but that Iran also fired small coastal cruise missiles, which did not hit the ships. The defense secretary and general spoke to reporters just days after a deadline passed that by law required the White House to seek Congress's authorization to continue to carry out strikes in Iran after 60 days of operations. Hegseth said that the 60-day deadline did not apply because of the ceasefire. This is why they're saying it's still a ceasefire, because if it's not a ceasefire, that means that they are involved in active military operations, which they only have 60 days to resolve now before Congress steps in and gets to deny them more funding for this. So that's what's going on here. With the ceasefire, the clock stops, he said. Democrats in Congress have contested the legality of that position. All right, good for them. Good job, Democrats in Congress. Doing fuck all over here. But this is literally why it has to be a ceasefire, even though it's clearly not. Because once he declares it's no longer a ceasefire, he's only got 60 days. So what this means is that as long as he's saying it's not a ceasefire, he does not think the United States can resolve this in 60 days. So right now what he is saying is we've got more than 2 months in on this. So it's going to take longer than 2 months to resolve this, is what we should actually be hearing. So every day Trump claims we're still in a ceasefire, we know when we hear that, what we should actually be hearing is it's going to take at least 2 more months for us to deal with this shit that we created. Okay? So that's what's important to remember. Iranian officials on Tuesday accused the U.S. of violating the ceasefire and warned of it becoming bogged down in the war now in its 3rd month. Remember what I told you guys when this started? If it's not over in 2 weeks, it's going to drag on forever. So Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in a post on X that events in the Strait make it clear there's no military solution to a political crisis, adding that the U.S. should be wary of being dragged back into the quagmire. So good. Project Freedom is Project Deadlock, he said. Iranian parliamentary speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said a new equation in the strait is in the process of being solidified in a post on X on Tuesday. We know full well that the continuation of the status quo is intolerable for America. We have not even begun yet, he added. He's like, oh, you're mad now? We're just getting started. We've been waiting on this for decades. We're getting started. We have a strategy. Unlike the United States, it's like, we're going to do more military stuff. If you don't listen to us now, you better watch out. And that's like an empty threat, right? Like, we actually have we're Operation Epic Fury. We were coming in guns ablazing with everything we've got, just like in Venezuela. Hit them hard and fast. That was our goal. We were going to be out in 2 weeks. So you're telling me the United States, who originally said this Iran war would be in and out in 2 weeks, right? 10 days, I think is what they said. Something like that. Fucking 2 weeks. Was actually tactically, secretly planning it would take way longer when we were holding off on using our big guns? Fuck no. We thought it would be 2 weeks, and we used all our big guns up front. Iran, meanwhile, has been preparing for a prolonged, years-long war with the United States going back to fucking 1979. All right? They've been planning on this. So they actually do have multiple stages that they are prepared for in this war. They know what they're doing. And this is the funniest thing in the world to watch the White House try to dance around their failures in this way. Like, what do you mean you secretly have more military you can do, but you didn't use it in the 10 days you thought would be the extent of the war? What? How does that fucking make sense? So, on Monday, the U.S. said 2 of its destroyers, closely followed by 2 merchant vessels, came under attack during successful transits of the strait, which had remained effectively blocked to maritime traffic during the war. Iran fired cruise missiles and drones at the U.S. naval and commercial vessels and sent fast boats after the commercial ship, said Admiral Brad Cooper, head of the U.S. Central Command. So we got 2 through, but they captured 2, and then they attacked 10. Is that correct? I'm just looking for the numbers. I just want to... Oh, no, go back. Find me my... No. Oh my god, the search function on this is so bad. Okay, yeah. So, Iran fired at commercial vessels 9 times, seized 2, and attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times. So 2 of them got through, though, is what we're saying. 2 of our ships got through. All right, interesting. Iran fired cruise missiles and drones at the U.S. naval and commercial vessels, sent fast boats after. Elsewhere in the region, the United Arab Emirates reported as Iranian assault on an energy hub that caused a fire, while Oman state media reported an attack in the country but did not identify a perpetrator. South Korea said it was also investigating the cause of a fire at a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz after Trump said Iran was to blame. Okay. Cooper insisted the U.S. had the upper hand and sought to differentiate U.S. actions from those of Iran. The distinction from my perspective is crystal clear, he said. My operational assessment overall is that the U.S. military has the clear advantage. You know what? Root for yourself. Someone's got to. Do you guys have the birds? Really? Crazy. They're outside. I don't own 12 pet birds. They're not in my home. They're outside my window. I can't help that Los Angeles is a beautiful nature wonderland, okay? I can't help that. Okay, so they weren't tankers. They were tiny boats hugging the coast of Oman. They got through. Those are the ones that got through. Okay. So Cooper insisted the U.S. had the upper hand and sought to differentiate, blah, blah, blah. Trump also sought to assert U.S. military dominance following Monday's attacks, saying that one way or another, we win, in comments to conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt. We either make the right deal, or we win very easily from the military standpoint. It's so easy to win from a military standpoint that it's taken us 2 months instead of 2 weeks, right? Because that's how easy it is. We've already won that, he said. Oh, actually, they already won from a military standpoint. You guys just haven't noticed yet. I think Fork's asleep. I think she's asleep. I really think she's in bed. Maybe there's just so many birds that Fork doesn't even recognize them. She's like, that's normal. That's fine. Yeah, just like we won the Vietnam War. We're winning like we won the Vietnam War. We've already won that, he said. The president also said the U.S. had knocked out Iran's leadership team since the war began. They killed a 90-year-old dude and one other guy. Okay, whatever. They talk a lot differently when they're talking to me than when they're talking to the media, he said. It remains unclear whether Trump's pause of the nascent project will help spur peace talks, which broke down in recent weeks. Iran has repeatedly warned against U.S. intervention in the Strait of Hormuz, and negotiations to open the narrow choke point through which 20% of the world's oil and gas supplies flow have formed a central plank of discussions between the U.S. and Iran since they agreed to a ceasefire on April 7th, which largely halted the fighting. Despite exchanging proposals and holding face-to-face talks, the two sides still face key sticking points to threaten both the ceasefire and the prospect of a more lasting peace. Okay, let's see what the relevant articles were that I opened for this. Oh, it doesn't want to open. It hates me. Okay, maybe we don't have it. All right, so yeah, geopolitical fanfic going on from the White House. They're coming up with all sorts of brilliant shit for us. Which just really visually stunning form of fascism we're descending into. I absolutely love it. I'm thinking now, like, when is the United States going to formally establish the Corporate Economic Governance Board from Mussolini's work? Who's going to propose that? Because I feel like Project 2025 could pitch that and Trump would eat it up. So it's like, when are we going to get to the full-blown fascism? Hi, Will Wright. Welcome. When are we going to get there? That's my curiosity. Oh, okay. Thank you. Autistic baddie. Oh, wait, that's it. Okay, yeah. So, all right, that's our update. We're losing, and we can expect to lose for at least 60 more days until we hear Donald Trump say that the ceasefire's over. So as long as the ceasefire's in effect, we know that's code word for we cannot win this in 60 days. That's what we really learned from this. Very interesting. Realistically, has the U.S. ever admitted they've lost a war? I don't think so. Not in my lifetime. I grew up, though, in this era. What is it? This is like the mission accomplished speech. I'm going to show you guys this. This is something that I remember from my youth. So this was President Bush declaring the end of major combat in Iraq as he speaks about aboard the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln off the California coast on Thursday, May 1st, 2003. So this was in 2008 that this article was written. Bush pays price for mission accomplished sign. The White House said Wednesday that President Bush has paid a price for the mission accomplished banner that was flown in triumph 5 years ago. Thursday's the 5th anniversary of Bush's dramatic landing in a Navy jet and an aircraft carrier homebound from the war. Major combat operations in Iraq have ended, Bush said. The Battle of Iraq is one victory in a war on terror that began on September 11th, 2001 and still goes on. The mission accomplished banner was prominently displayed above him, a move the White House came to regret as the display was mocked and became a source of controversy. After shifting explanations, the White House eventually said the mission accomplished phrase referred to the carrier crew's completing its 10-month mission, not the military completing its mission in Iraq. Bush, on October of 2003, disavowed any connection with the mission accomplished message. He said the White House had nothing to do with the banner. A spokesman later said the ship's crew asked for the sign, and the White House staff made it up by a private vendor. President Bush is well aware the banner should have been much more specific and said mission accomplished for these sailors who were on the ship on their mission. And we've certainly paid the price for not being more specific. Bullshit. So meanwhile, when this was being written in 2008, 5 years after this sign went up, NBC says 49 troops died in Iraq in April, making it the deadliest month since September when 65 troops died. Now in its 6th year, the war in Iraq has claimed the lives of at least 4,000 members of the U.S. military. Only the Vietnam War, the war in Afghanistan, and the Revolutionary War have engaged America longer. So this is what I grew up seeing. When this happened, I was 15 years old, 16 years old. I was very, very active. I was very active in politics during that time. This article came out, when I was 21 years old. So this has become like a symbol of the United States pretending it won wars it didn't, right? And, okay, wait, we have another one. Oh, yeah, a fun stream day. We should go over the CIA's dumbest project, like bird spies poisoning their coworkers. Yes, I think that's a really good idea. I would love to do that. I have podcast episodes about that, but we could probably find it relevant to some sort of CIA operation. Maybe we'll make that a rule. When we see news about the CIA up to some shenanigans, we'll add in that stuff. We had a good laugh about it back in the day. So we have peace in the Middle East. Trump tells Gaza summit in Egypt. And this was on, oh God, this was in 2025? This is embarrassing. Well, Trump did it. So the short answer is no, I don't think we've ever admitted we've lost anything. This was less than a year ago. Yeah. Yep. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I feel like the sign was falling also. Mission accomplished sign fell. Did it fall? Maybe that was just something I made up in my head. Maybe symbolically it seemed like it should have. You know? I really just felt like I remembered the sign falling down behind him. Yeah. Yeah, Virgo, I think let's next time the CIA is in the news, let's just add that stuff on. Like the dumb projects, the LSD stuff, yeah. The psychic, oh my God, the remote viewing, things like that. Yeah, that would be like really, really good. Oh, Arrested Development satirized it in their version of Hell. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's like peak millennial culture is Arrested Development for sure. Yes. Okay, so that said, that wraps up our news segment for today. Now, for the month of May, we will be adding in one segment for the final 30 minutes of the stream where we review one additional country and decide how to allocate them on our Mapping the Camps project. So that's what we're going to be switching to right now today. And this is going to be how we finish up our map without it becoming a whole map stream. Because very obviously, we could spend forever working on this. Now, when we talked last about the map, there was some contention about Congo and how we should classify Congo. So I know, yeah, Virgo needed a break from the maps for sure. So we're going to do today's is going to be discussing the role that Congo, not the DRC, plays in the geopolitical landscape. Oh, it's Tito's birthday. Happy birthday to Tito. Defeated the Nazis. So does anybody have any thoughts on how to position Congo? Any thoughts about Congo that they want to bring to the table? I don't know if Transfox Girl's in here right now, but last time was saying that they felt like we shouldn't, like countries that are actively being genocided, it feels disrespectful to claim that they're like being cucked by a greater power, right? And I was like, well, divided is a way that we could talk about that. Like they're not, like we could rename divided into something where it's like you're not actually able to participate on the global stage in any meaningful way because you're experiencing so much political turmoil within your own borders. Not DRC, the other Congo, yes. Lord Oxium wiring the 1910 house. You got the knob and tube? Yeah, I had the knob and tube. Yeah. Bye, Mel May. Okay, I might be in Larry's stream. That's what I was kind of thinking. So, I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts about this, though? Any thoughts about Congo that they would like to bring to the table for us to talk about their position? Yeah, I like Transfox Girl, too. I like all of you guys. So let's take a look and let's just revisit the conditions of the Congo genocide. Maybe from Black Agenda Report or Hood Communist or something like that. Okay, I feel like this is the one we want. So, this is going to be about the DRC. See, everything's just about the DRC, though. But I feel like the history might tell us something about Congo non-DRC. Yeah, they're different. They're different, and it's hard to find info about them because of that. Yeah. So it's hard. Let's take a look, and let's just, like, talk about that. DRC versus Congo. Yeah, Republic of Congo, right, is what the other one is called. To really get the understanding going here. I'm looking for a good source for us to be able to talk about this in more detail. Okay. So I have here an interview that will help us contextualize this from 2018. So who said in the chat about Belgium? Yeah, so this is going to include Belgium, so we're going to talk about this. All right. Yeah, people call DRC the Congo. And yeah, we should probably just call it like Republic of Congo for the Congo proper, just on its own Congo. So Syria has long dominated international headlines while the big powers discuss the possibility of dividing it into smaller, more homogenous states along ethnic or religious lines. Now, for context, this is called divide and rule, balkanizing the Democratic Republic of Congo. I spoke with Congolese scholar and activist Boniface Musavuli about the plans. So Anne Garrison says, Boniface? Can you summarize the history of proposals to divide up the eastern provinces of the Democratic Republic of Congo? So again, here are the eastern provinces here, right? So attempts to break up the Congo began as soon as the country became independent in 1960. First, there was a Katangese section from 1960 to 1963, led by Moise Tshombe with the support of Belgium, the colonial power that Congo had just freed itself from, in name at least. Katanga is Congo's most southern eastern province, bordering Angola, Zambia, and Tanzania, which makes it easier to slice off. Like the rest of the resource-rich eastern border provinces, Katanga is also Congo's most mineral-rich province, and the Belgians had made it clear before independence that they did not intend to cede control of its wealth to the Congolese. And I swear this gets into Republic of Congo stuff too. Another secession began in the southern part of the Kasai province, which borders Katanga. So again, this is why it's very important for us to be critical too of separatist movements that are supported by the West. I'm never going to trust a separatist movement that the West is encouraging anywhere, because this is our strategy. We are trying to balkanize everything. So these secessions were defeated by UN forces in the Congolese army led by Lieutenant General Joseph Desiré Mobutu, who was then Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. On October 1996, Rwandan President Pasteur Bizimungu called for the organization of a new Berlin conference to allow Rwanda to take possession of part of eastern Congo. Bizimungu was a Hutu figurehead concealing the minority Tutsi rule that General Paul Kagame had reestablished at the end of 1990 to 1994 invasion, war, and genocide in Rwanda. At the same time, U.S. officials and corporatist Walter Kahnsteiner began advocating ethnic balkanization, including the creation of a homogenous Tutsi state in eastern Congo. So the interviewer says, I've read about Kahnsteiner. How was Bill Clinton's National Security Council advisor for African Affairs? He was, rather. And then he became the deputy spokesman for Clinton's National Security Council. And in 2002, he became George W. Bush's Assistant Secretary of State of African Affairs. He's been involved in mergers, acquisitions, and privatizations all over Africa. And he owns a commodity trading firm in Chicago that specializes in tropical products. So I just hammering this home, just not related to Congo necessarily, but related to American capitalism. We've got this guy, Kahnsteiner, right? Where's our Kahnsteiner intro? Okay. U.S. official and corporatist Walter Kahnsteiner starts advocating for balkanization along ethnic lines. He's advocating to start building ethnic states to break up Congo, right? All right. So Kahnsteiner, who was he? Bill Clinton's National Security Council advisor for African Affairs, deputy spokesman for Clinton's National Security Council, George W. Bush's Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs. Oh, by the way, no big deal. He owns a commodities trading firm in Chicago specializing in tropical products and has been involved in mergers, acquisitions, and privatization of business all across Africa. So this guy is a capitalist whose primary money-making schemes come from, in part, right, privatizing business in Africa. He also has key roles for Democrats and Republicans in advisory government positions on Africa. Right? So this is welcome to the United States, babe. So he's a member of the Corporate Council on Africa, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the African Development Foundation. So this guy says, yeah, that's him. He's been advocating for the balkanization of Congo along ethnic lines in October 1986. He's trying to build an ethno-state in Congo. So all these ethnic tensions, I just want to hammer this home too. Capitalism thrives on creating ethnic tensions in regions. Communism has platforms to stabilize ethnic tensions. When we look at what happened in the former USSR, right? We look at what happened in Yugoslavia. We look in particular, I just did my podcast episode about Albania, Azerbaijan. communism, because of Lenin's addition for the right to self-determination for oppressed people, because it gives a legal framework for people who've been marginalized, usually along ethnic lines, if we're being perfectly honest, to be able to engage politically with the power necessary to make them feel full and fulfilled and not like they're in constant conflict with ethnic groups that have more advantageous positions in capitalist society. Because of that framework that's introduced, we are actually able to minimize ethnic tensions escalating into full-blown conflict under communism. Communism has a better framework to protect ethnic minorities than capitalism does. And that's why in regions where you take a look back and you see who was happiest under communism, it's usually ethnic minorities in regions that are happier under communism, and they got completely fucked over under capitalism. Because we know capitalism always uses these issues, identity politics issues, right, as a wedge to try to divide the working class against each other for our own profit and benefit. So that's what we see. This guy who makes money off of doing business in Africa has been an advisor for Democrats, an advisor for Republicans. What's he want to do? He wants to build a fucking ethno-state in Africa. Why? Because division along ethnic lines benefits capitalists. It benefits them. In October 1996, and we're doing this at the end, we have more time to deep dive into every country this way, which I think is going to be beneficial, especially as we get into Africa. So I got 30 more minutes we can get in on this, right? So October 1996 was also the month when Uganda and Rwanda invaded the Congo, formed a coalition army with Laurent Desire Kabila, and drove Congolese President Mobutu Sese Seko into exile 7 months later. And then in 1998, during the Second Congo War, the DRC and its vast resources were divided into three main parts, even though there was no formal secession. One part was controlled by Congolese President Laurent Desire Kabila and his allies, another by Rwandan President Paul Kagame and his allies, and the third by Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and his allies. This de facto partition of the country ended in 2003 when the Sun City Peace Agreement was signed in South Africa. So Anne says, I read some of the press about the Sun City Agreement at the time. It was reported that Uganda had agreed to give the Congolese finance portfolio to Congo in exchange for the power to choose the president of Congo's 500-member National Assembly, and Rwanda got to choose the head of Congo's 120-member Senate, but that these bargains were not spelled out in the agreement. And he said, yes, but it's important to note that Congolese President Laurent Kabila had been assassinated in 2001 and succeeded by Joseph Kabila, his adopted son, who became a partner in U.S. and Rwandan Tutsi interests in Congo. So, Anne says only a week after Kabila was sworn in as president, George Bush invited him to visit Washington. Kabila accepted the invitation and went there to meet with Colin Powell and Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda. So we know Rwanda. Did we do Rwanda Cuck Maxed? What did we do for Rwanda? Yeah, we did Rwanda Cuck Maxed, definitely. And we see, obviously, that George Bush had set his sights on this guy Kabila, right, in the DRC. This is the DRC. So by January 2009, French President Nicolas Sarkozy declared publicly that Congo must share its space and wealth with Rwanda, who's operating basically as a Western proxy state in the region. So there are now several initiatives aimed at balkanizing Congo, but the Congolese have always opposed them. That explains, for example, the defeat of M23, an armed Tutsi militia, in November 2013. A petition was recently launched by individuals who claim to be from the Hutu community in Congo, calling for the partition of Northern Kivu, one of Congo's most resource-rich and population-dense provinces. North Kivu borders Rwanda, and Rwandan forces have never left the province, despite the 2003 agreement that formally ended the Second Congo War. Instead, they pretended to be Congolese and renamed themselves National Congress for the Defense of the People, and then the March 23rd movement. And we talked about M23, I think I did a podcast episode about this, not a stream, where we talked about M23. So I think if you go on my podcast episodes, you'll find some info about Congo in there if you want the deep dive on them. North Kivu continue to be ravaged by their violence and looting of Congolese resources, including coltan, gold, diamonds, and timber. So this partition of North Kivu would weaken the inter-ethnic cohesion of the province, weaken its different territories, and cause massive population displacements. There are already more than 1.1 million internally displaced persons in North Kivu province, nearly a quarter of the 4.5 million internally displaced persons in the country. Partitioning the territories of North Kivu would facilitate their annexation to Rwanda as envisioned by the Balkanizers back in 1996. So we have total control of Rwanda, and we just are like, how do we make Rwanda bigger, right? Because it's little. When you look at the map, it's little. So this is what I mean when you look at, and this is an older, this is from 2018, I think. Yeah, this is from 2018. So if you're looking at this map in 2018, and imagine this isn't filled in, right? And imagine probably these two aren't filled in either. All you've really got is Rwanda, this tiny little island here. What do you want to do? And this is why the map is important. You got to make this bigger, right? So now we see obviously what's happened is that we have managed to increase our footing in the DRC, and that's a major win for us now, nearly 10 years later, right? So, that is what brings us down here. The partition of North Kivu would weaken the inter-ethnic cohesion. We're talking about the displaced persons. The people behind the petition are in fact linked to Kagame and Kabila's Tutsi expansionist regimes. And remember, Kabila, USA guy, which has always worked together to balkanize Eastern Congo. This explains the massive preference of Rwandan Tutsi officers in the ranks of the Congolese army. So going back to the map again, here's Rwanda, and we've got a bunch of Rwandan officers here, and they're calling themselves Congolese, and this is the United States kind of in the region. However, the Rwandan military presence is not sufficient to achieve balkanization. This also requires huge Rwandan populations on Congolese soil, hence their massive arrival, particularly in North Kivu province's Beni territory and Ituri province. Some of these Rwandans commit massacres against the indigenous population, which explains the hostility of the Congolese to their arrival. So doing settler colonization, right, in the DRC. So Anne said it's his plan to populate the territories that Rwanda would like to annex with Rwandans and then hold a referendum on whether the territories want to be part of Rwanda or Congo. And he says, yes, Rwanda's strategy has always been to use the populations of Rwandan origin or of Rwandan ancestry by sending Rwandan populations to Congo and massacring native Congolese. Rwanda is trying to create a Rwandan majority in several provinces or territories of Congo. Because if they become a majority, then they'll be able to demand a referendum for self-determination and obtain the autonomy of territories under their control and then be annexed into Rwanda. So that's what happened there. So it should be noted that a large part of the population's Rwandan origin or ancestry, now established in Congo for several generations, oppose the balkanization. These populations now consider themselves Congolese. They refuse to collaborate in Kagame's regimes, which is very, very interesting. So what they have is they have people who were originally Rwandan who are now there, and they're like, actually, fuck this. No, we don't like this. We don't like you, and we're not going to do that. So it kind of backfired a little bit because it took too long. So this is one of the main reasons why the balkanization project floundered. And ancestor balkanizers, both here and there, are trying to balkanize North Kivu, Ituri, and maybe more of Congo's resource-rich east along ethnic lines. The U.S. has pursued a policy of ethnic and or religious division since the breakup of Yugoslavia, then South Sudan, and now Syria. And he says, yes, and Walter Kansteiner talked about, that was the USA policy dude who also owned all the companies, or rather had one company that dealt with commodities in Africa. So Walter Kansteiner spoke about the creation of an ethnically homogenous Tutsi state in eastern Congo, which is a terrifying idea because Tutsi do not even represent 5% of the total population of Kivu and are not a majority in any Congolese territory. A little Israel, right? So these guys like, we should make a little Israel down there. The only way for them to have a homogenous state is to slaughter 95% of the local population or drive them off their land. This explains, in part, the death of 6 million Congolese and the continuation of the massacres in eastern Congo. But despite these unending massacres and millions of deaths, the Tutsi still remain a minority throughout eastern Congo. They cannot create a homogenous state in eastern Congo, but perhaps they can create a totalitarian state like Rwanda's, where a tiny super-militarized Tutsi minority reigns supreme over the country and crushes the majority Hutu population. In her new book, In Praise of Blood, Crimes of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, Judy Revere writes, the market analysts predict a complete geostrategic restructuring in Central Africa, with Rwandan Tutsi, an ethnic group that had faced existential threats for decades, now steering affairs. You'll see a de facto greater Tutsi land there. What you've got is a situation where Rwanda and Uganda are now clearly the dominant military powers in the region, and they will do pretty much whatever we want. So remember, we filled in Uganda as Cook-Maxing, because that's basically a U.S. proxy state, as is Rwanda. Why? Because we wanted that there, and we want them to expand into their version of a greater Israel project, a greater Rwanda project, because that means we have a bigger, essentially, military base there in Central Africa. I don't know what Fork's mad at. It's probably nothing. Maybe she heard the birds. So Anne says, do you agree that that's what happened? And he says, yes, absolutely. The Hema powers of Uganda and Tutsi Rwanda are the dominant military force in the region. Although they are a minority in number, they control virtually all military decisions in the DRC and, of course, in Uganda and Rwanda. They operate within the framework of the American strategy of entrusting the real power to the minority communities, even if they enslave the majority. So Anne says, isn't Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni a Tutsi, like Rwandan President Paul Kagame, even though this is rarely discussed? We're just so mad. Hold on. Let me go give her a treat and calm her down. I actually forgot I have a special treat for you guys. David and I decided to record our bonus episode for the Patreon on lunch break. So David's here, and David can jump in at the end of our stream. And if you want to stick around, you can watch us live record the bonus episode together, since you guys have been requesting David on stream. So big surprise for you all when we're done with this if you want to stay. Yes, I know. I forgot. Okay. So, Heaters here has this from the CIA about, so we're going to get into, I swear this is going to be talking about actual ROC in a second. Yeah, we're going to do a David thing. You're literally leaving? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so we're going to get there, because I really do think this context is really important to understand it. So, Museveni was born, and this we're like almost done with that. Museveni was born in 1944. His parents were nomads from the Western Uganda Bahimi subgroup of the Banyankole people, closely related to the Tutsis of Rwanda and Burundi. And Anne says this was an elite minority ruling class selected and empowered by the U.S. and its Western allies. And he says, yes, indeed, that's why elites in Western countries remain silent about the terrible crimes Kagame and Museveni have committed in the African Greater Lakes region for more than 20 years. More than 6 million Congolese people have died by their crimes, but not a single Ugandan or Rwandan leader faces prosecution anywhere in the world. So pundits and policymakers here in the U.S. argue that Congo is a weak state, so they need to break it up into smaller, stronger states. The 1961 assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the first democratically elected post-independence prime minister, by U.S. and Belgian operatives, has precluded the possibility of Congo becoming a strong state for nearly 60 years. And he says Congo is not a weak state, but a state where the occupying authorities intentionally weakened the state. Since Joseph Kabila came to power in 2001, every solution proposed, such as building a road, fighting corruption, or eliminating an armed group, has been sabotaged, so the problem's only worsened. Why? Because current authorities controlling the DRC, including President Kabila, have all come from Rwanda and Uganda. Hi, do you want to sit down?
What are we talking about?
Okay, well, right now we're doing this map project where we're literally mapping. Do you want to get in the frame? You don't have to.
I don't. I mean, here I am.
Okay, there's David. So we're mapping out all of the camps in the world today to kind of see where alliances lie. And right now we're talking about Republic of Congo. But
why do I see maxing, cucked brat, cucked?
Because
that's... The fuck is...
These are the camps.
The internet has poisoned the fucking world.
I think it's helpful for us to know, for example, that Rwanda is cuckmaxed when we want to understand the geopolitical situation in Central Africa.
Go on.
See? I'm convincing.
No, I'm not. I would just I see the noose that you're hanging yourself with.
No, nobody's hanging anybody here, babes. Okay, so we're going to finish up this at noon, and then you and I will start. So we got 18 more minutes on this.
I'm going to go get myself a soda. Bullshit.
So, okay. So I think this is important. Congo is not weak, but the occupying authorities have intentionally weakened the state. Since Joseph Kabila came to power in 2001, every solution proposed, such as building a road, fighting corruption, eliminating an armed group, has been sabotaged, so the problem's only worsen. Why? Because the current authorities controlling the DRC, including President Kabila, have all come from Rwanda and Uganda, right? The cuckmax states, right? We have to 6-7, David. That's so true. So these authorities are kept on the mission to keep the Congolese state... Is there nothing... Oh, did you get one? Okay. Their authorities are on a mission, blah, blah, blah. 85% of Congolese mineral resources are looted by members of the regime and their foreign allies. Ding, ding, ding. Foreign allies. So, oh my God, where is the part about this? Okay, when Congolese get rid of Kagame's henchman, Joseph Kabila, they will work to rebuild their country along with strong state as it is now. 85% of Congolese mineral resources are looted by members of the regime and their foreign allies. If the Congolese reclaim their own resources, Congo can rapidly become a strong and wealthy state. Who opposes the division? The Congolese, on the whole, do not want their country to be balkanized. Okay, so then, there was something in here too. Okay. Oh, that was just that. Okay. So, This is why it's important to understand what's going on nearby, to understand the conditions for the expanding interest in Central Africa. Now, that gets us to, is it called the ROC? Is it always called the ROC? So this is about the Mobutu government here for Congo. Now, let's look at Mobutu, Sese Seko.
Strong style.
So strong style. Yeah, he had great style. David likes his style. So he was in charge of what's now the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is him. So this is what the CIA document is about that was sent. Former Zaire. Yeah, what a look. Great. So the rebel elements, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is a cool CIA document that was sent by chat. And then this is more about Rwanda. Let's try to find some info now about what's going on with the non-DRC. Hold on. So that we can read similarly to give us good orientation before we decide this. Congo Brazzaville. Congo Brazzaville is what some people call this, apparently, the internet is saying. And that's helpful. Yeah, his hat was really, really good. So let's see if we can find anything about that on Black Agenda Report to get us through this. I'm searching. Yeah, CIA destabilized the ML Republic of Congo government in 1968. Yeah. Now, they don't have much news that's recent over on Black Agenda Report. I'm trying to get something. We need one thing. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. Guinea-Bissau. Algeria. Okay, let's see. I think this is maybe going to be the one. This is about Cuba, actually. The only thing I've found so far to help us is that Cuban military and medical presence extended to Congo, Brazzaville, Benin, and support, but that's from Cuba more. Brazzaville is the capital. Yeah, I feel like that's the best way to search for stuff without it just plopping up Democratic Republic of Congo, right? Because Republic of Congo is what it's actually called. So let's get into more. Okay, so this is some news we have from May 6th. That's today. About vaccinations. That's interesting. So we have a working class neighborhood. Okay. I'm telling them we're building a Greater Fresno project as well.
Oh, I am not visible, so people cannot see the look of withering skepticism on my face.
Okay, so this is all remnants of resistance. All right. Trust is built gradually. Okay, so this doesn't really help us with anything. This is just about vaccination efforts. They have a temple going on. This is for the Latter-day Saints. So the Mormons are out here. The Mormons are in the regular Congo.
The Mormons are everywhere.
The Mormons are out in regular Congo, in Congo, Brazzaville.
Some 19-year-old from eastern Idaho is out there right now.
Yes, this is wild. They're making Mormon temples in Congo, Brazzaville. Whoa, that's crazy. Wow. Okay. And they confirmed their re-election with 95%. This is recent. He's 82 years old. Oil-rich Central African country led by for 4 decades. The opposition has challenged every single election. People ask for elections to be recounted, and they're not. So we should look up this guy and his current relationship with the U.S., right? Let's see what's going on with him. U.S. prosecutors pushed to seize apartment tied to Congolese president in luxury Trump complex. Embezzled public funds were allegedly used to purchase a Manhattan apartment for the use of the daughter of one of Africa's longest-serving authoritarian leaders. U.S. authorities are looking to seize a $7 million Manhattan apartment as part of the corruption probe into the Republic of Congo's first family, court documents show. In a forfeiture complaint filed in March, federal prosecutors alleged that funds embezzled from the state coffers were used to purchase the luxury apartment at Trump International Hotel and Tower for the use of Claudia Lembumba Sassou Nguesso, the daughter of Central African country's longtime scandal-plagued president. The complaint describes how a web of shell companies ultimately owned by Sassou Nguesso was allegedly used to funnel millions of dollars out of the Republic of Congo, with some of the money invested in the two-bedroom apartment overlooking Central Park. Prosecutors say the property has remained unoccupied since it was purchased in 2014. Okay, so an incorporation document obtained by ICIJ shows that Subri was formed as an investment company. A Portuguese businessman described as a fixer for the Congolese president is accused of playing a role in the scheme. ICIJ's Pandora's papers revealed that Sassou Nguesso's family is no stranger to using offshore entities to reroute money. The leaked file shows that President Denis Sassou Nguesso, who came to power through a military coup in 1997, was behind a British Virgin Islands company that largely controlled the rights to the Republic of Congo's diamond mines. Global Witness also reported that the president's son, Denis Christel Sassou Nguesso, allegedly looted $50 million in state funds through inflated contracts with the Congolese governments. All right. So what is his relationship with the United States, though? That's the real question. Okay. I'm so curious about this. What else do we have? The American Presidency Project, the laundromat. We've got targeted sanctions from 2026. Xi Jinping congratulated him, our guy. What do we have? We got the Voice of America. Let's see what the American propaganda slop rags say about that. So what we went over, I think it's safe to understand why we were saying that the DRC is cuckmax, right? It's not to be like these people committed, who are the victims of genocide, there's something wrong with them in some way, but it's to really understand the United States expansionist ambitions in Central Africa and how we have taken over and removed all agency from these people, right? So Trans Fox Girl's not in here right now, but if they come back, we can have that conversation if maybe, the nature of why we position them this way and what their services to us. But I would say there is an argument for the DRC being divided if we wanted. So advocates seek U.S. and Canadian sanctions on Congolese president's son, daughter for embezzlement. But this isn't something it looks like the U.S. government wants to do necessarily. Organizations fighting for the rule of law, Human Rights First, the Sassovet Collective, and the Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights today submitted a dossier to the United States and Canadian governments. This is from 3 months ago, recommending targeted sanctions against the Congo Brazzaville's leader. According to investigations by the U.S. Department of Justice, the daughter used sham companies to embezzle public money into buying this apartment, etc. The Justice Department's continued pursuit of these forfeiture cases is a welcomed, if surprising, step, given the Trump administration's general abandonment of an anti-corruption agenda. But the State Department has a ban program for kleptocrats and human rights violators, so that's what they're going on. So U.S. congressional leaders have called attention to the corruption in the Republic of Congo. And a Senate Foreign Relations Committee chairman, Jim Risch, called the Congolese government one of Africa's most corrupt and oppressive regimes and called for greater attention to the role kleptocracy plays in undermining democracy worldwide. Interesting. So, who is Jim Risch? I don't know this guy. Do you guys know this guy? Oh my god, I was not expecting him to be that old. Oh, I don't know why. Hi, Caltimos. Why is he 800 years old? He's a Republican. Okay. That doesn't tell me much. He's so old, this guy. Okay. So I'm inclined to position... Okay, I know this is going to be controversial. I'm inclined to position Congo Brazzaville as Poland. I think they're a Poland, maybe. This is my vibe. I'm vibing they're Poland. But I want to see their relationship with the DPRK. That's what's going to do it all for me. No, not Jim Risch. Get me out of here. Where's his name again? Sassou Nguesso. Well, I gotta type North Korea, don't I? I'm on American internet. News. What does this mean, The Guardian? None of this has anything to do. Oh, okay, here we go. This is interesting. Putin says Republic of Congo is a reliable, time-tested friend. Okay. After a meeting with Congolese President Denis Sassou Nguesso. So this is why the Americans are mad. Working together with Congo is one of the priorities of our foreign policy activities in Africa. Students and young people from your country continue to professional training in Africa or in Russia. We are not only ready to maintain this level, but also increase the number of Congolese who want to receive an education in the Russian Federation. Okay, you know what? Voice of America, American propaganda slop rag, says Republic of Congo president hopeful after U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. So Denis Sassou Nguesso says significant developments came out of this year's U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit in Washington. In an interview with VOA this week, Sassou Nguesso said that during the summit, the goals were more defined, including helping the African Union gain a greater voice at the United Nations. Biden declared, this is a while ago, all right, Biden declared that Africa is certainly going to be a member of the G20, the African Union. I believe this is a clear orientation we appreciate. This is on, like, Poland? No. Huh. I'm inclined to actually position them... maybe position them as defiant. They're part of the... They're not totally the resistance, but they're aligning more with Russia. Which is interesting. So it's Africa's third largest oil exporter. It's very biodiverse. They have economic woes. The United States is investigating them for corruption, which, like, everybody's corrupt, so that seems political. They're allied more with Russia. It sounds like Russia's trying to build up their relationship with them. His strategic international alliances from Beijing to Moscow to Paris. So he's not fully there, but France has launched investigations into his family. So he's more allied than with Beijing and Moscow. So I'm going to put him securely in light pink camp. I think securely. The president met with Russia for 29. I don't think they're divided, though. I don't think this is regular Congo. This isn't the Democratic Republic of Congo. So I'm saying that I'm thinking they are firmly in the camp of the Russia-China kind of worldview, right? Because their biggest political allies were Beijing, Moscow, Paris, but France started investigating them, right? So I think that they are, I'm pretty confident in it. I think that, I don't think ROC is cuck maxed because they're more working with Russia, right? So if we look up their news with Russia, they're working to develop together. So Putin says Russia, Congo have good prospects for development. Russia's pivot to Asia, okay, but this has to do with the Republic of Congo. Diplomatic ties were established in 1964. Moscow and Brazzaville remain regular political contact. Nguesso previously visited Russia in 2012, 2019, and 2024, participated in Russia-Africa summits and the BRICS summits in Kazan, attended Moscow's 80th Victory Day commemorations. Putin and Sassou Nguesso last met in Beijing in September 2025. He was awarded the Russian Order of Honor for his contributions to bilateral relations. He's a Russia guy. He's defiant, for sure. He's not fully all in, but he's a Russia guy for sure. He's a Russia guy. I think so. I think that this is it. I think that this is a position. Now, that just means, do we want to make DRC divided because of what they're experiencing? Because they have so much political instability. I think that would make sense. I think that's it. No, not ROC. DRC is that. Congo Brazzaville is the Russia guys. DRC divided. Yes. Yeah, so that is also why DRC is so important for the United States. If Congo Brazzaville has a good relationship with Russia and China, and they only had their footing in 2019 in Rwanda and maybe Uganda, you can see why taking more control over the DRC is so important to the United States, and why the genocide occurring in the DRC is of strategic advantage to the Western world, because they want to occupy more of a space here. I think this is it. You disagree on ROC because of the U.S. installed government. The U.S. didn't install this guy. The U.S. hates this guy. The U.S. is investigating him. Denis Sassou Nguesso was not installed by the USA. This guy's... Are you thinking of DRC maybe? Because we're talking about Congo Brazzaville. Or Brazzaville. I don't think this guy was installed by the USA from anything I've seen. Was he? Right, CIA's covert ops, but that was in DRC. Oh, wait, this is a different one. Oops. I need his name. Give me his name. I can't spell it right. Oh, we're 12 o'clock. We got to wrap it up soon. Okay. We're close. Okay, let's take a look at this dog. Ah! Yeah, I don't see anything in here. So this isn't about Brazzaville necessarily. So then here we're talking about nearby Brazzaville, because Lumumba was DRC. Lumumba's DRC. I think maybe you guys are getting confused between Democratic Republic of Congo and Congo Brazzaville. You know what I mean? Yeah, because that's all DRC. So that's different. So no, this guy is a Russia guy. So when we look at our map, the DRC is Lumumba. That's all the political instability. That's the U.S. and the CIA vying. That's the genocide is all happening in DRC. Now, Congo nearby, Congo Brazzaville, this is a different country, and this is a guy we were just talking about who's cozied up with Putin and getting investigated by the United States and getting denounced by the Crypt Keeper and Senate. You know? Yeah, I think this is the correct move. I think we're on the correct move. Okay, yay. All right, so we're going to swap gears now, and if you guys are still sticking around for today, we're going to do a special feature. David and I are going to be recording what's usually a bonus episode for our Patreon, but we're going to do it here so you guys can see it for free. It also helps to know kind of what content we get over on our Patreon. So as you guys know on our podcast, if you've been listening, we've been talking about Yugoslavia. So today's bonus episode is going to be basically a tie-in with that, and we're going to be recording this to upload on the Patreon as well, but it's going to be basically a bonus episode that has to do with Yugoslavia. And the thing we're going to be talking about today is one of the fallouts from Yugoslavia in general, just from what happened after Balkanization occurred. So that's going to be very, very interesting for us, I think. I wonder if I should just record this with like a voice memo thing.
A voice memo?
Yeah, because it's so casual and light, you know? And then I can just like plug it in later.
I looked at that article again that you sent me, and it's like 3 paragraphs that explains nothing.
Okay. Well, we'll just generally talk about the effects of balkanization.
Yeah.
Okay. So, cancel, don't sync to iCloud. All right. So we're going to do this really, really... Do you want to be in the frame?
Do I want to be in the frame?
You have to get kind of close.
Oh, God
damn it. You can be. Yeah, get in the frame. This is David Chat. Hi. So this is how this works. So this is a streaming service right here. This is chat. So chat is where
I don't
these
have
are people talking.
I have a different kind of cognitive difference that makes it very difficult for me to pay attention to all of this shit at one time.
You're the opposite of ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, this is how it works. So this is chat. So everyone's saying hi to you.
Someone called me Unk.
Yeah, well, because we're old. They're younger, so we're Unk. I'm Unc too. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I'm fine with that. I
Yeah,
am,
yeah.
in fact, an uncle.
You are, in fact, an uncle. That's true. That's true. To a child formerly known as Tornado, which I thought was a much better name.
Yeah, well, the max erasure here.
Okay, yeah.
There's
that's
another
true.
one.
There's
I'm
another
an
one.
uncle twice over.
Twice over. But one kid for a while was like, my name's Tornado. And I'm like, that is so cool.
I got the kid a skateboard with a tornado on it.
So cool. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So you guys are gonna hear us recording kind of just an intro to what's going on for our Patreon subscribers who aren't on stream, so they're not just thrown into it and they're confused. So we're officially recording now. Welcome to the bonus episode, everybody on Patreon.
Hello.
We are doing something special. We are also streaming our bonus episode on Twitch. So you guys listening on Patreon might hear us talking to the Twitch chatters.
Tens of people can see my right shoulder.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you could get more into the frame if you wanted.
Christ.
There's hundreds. There's hundreds of us
Okay.
now, and then thousands watch the streams after.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Don't love that.
Yeah, so if you're on Patreon but not on Twitch stream, the Twitch stream chatters are saying hello to you as well.
Okay.
So, what we're talking about today is a loose episode that's supposed to go along with the Yugoslavia stuff we've been discussing. Obviously, over on our podcast, Pick Me Up, I'm Scared, we talk more about history. We're talking about the history of Yugoslavia and its ultimate destruction. And I think we're working on 4 parts for this episode. We've already completed 3. So for a bonus episode on Patreon, sometimes we like to do addendum content that kind of goes along with that. So what the article I sent David for us to discuss today is about femicide happening in former Yugoslavia. And do you just want to recap the article for everybody?
Basically, it's not even an article. It's just like, we condemn the femicide. That is what... And I was like, well, okay, man. So I went on the goddamn UN women website, the Europe and Central Asia part. And it starts in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Every second woman experienced some form of violence since age 15. This violence is often seen as socially acceptable behavior justified by traditional patriarchal norms and gender stereotypes.
Okay. So that's all the info we've got. So basically, in balkanized former Yugoslavian places, we're seeing it's something very, very standard in capitalism, right? It's the commodification of women.
Yeah.
Right? And the commodification of women obviously accompanies violence against women because when women are commodified, they're dehumanized, and then we see an increase in violence against women. And this is one of the major issues that is the fallout of leaving communism. And that's not to say that when places undergo a worker revolution and they have Marxist-Leninist leadership, they solve sexism and misogyny, right? Because we know that's not true. One of the books that we read over on our Patreon together in book club was Everyday Life in the North Korean Revolution. By Susie Kim, and she actually talks about how North Korea in particular tried very early on to solve the woman problem, right?
Mm-hmm. And we're, let's say, partially successful.
I think they were partially successful. Yeah, we know that when you have a worker revolution, bias and bigotry doesn't disappear overnight. You don't snap your fingers and all of a sudden it's fucking kumbaya and all of the inequality that's ever existed in the world is gone. No, and they actually looked at the USSR and they were like, in North Korea, they were like, the USSR has not been super successful at solving the woman problem, as they call it. They were like, we think we can do a little better. And I think they did do a little better. Yeah. But they still didn't fully solve it because I think these issues take time. But what we see is when you remove socialism from a place and it devolves back into capitalism, it gets so chaotic so fast. All of the issues that are exacerbated by capitalism, because capitalism loves to drive that wedge between people to get them turned on each other instead of on the system. We see that it creates the conditions for increased levels of bigotry and bias very, very quickly, and that includes misogyny. So, David, do you want to explain what the woman problem is from a communist standpoint? Like when the difference between how women are viewed in capitalism versus women are viewed in communism, and what the woman problem is.
I mean, I don't think I've ever heard it put that particular way.
That's what they call it in the Susie Kim book. She calls it, she's the woman
I mean,
problem.
I think that might be a Susie Kim coinage.
Well, I think it is a convenient... I've seen other communists talk about the woman problem before, yeah.
I mean, traditionally in capitalism, women are responsible for social reproduction. That is literally producing new workers. For obvious reasons, communism does not accede to that particular framework.
Right.
Does that...
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So then what happens is you have the situation, say you have a worker revolution today, what do you do tomorrow with women? Well, the first problem you run into, which is talked about in the North Korea book, which I recommend for anybody who hasn't read it, it's a great book, is that you have all these women who are used to this private life. And this is something that Susie Kim book talked about a lot. Private versus public life, and what that means for women, and what that means for socialism and for capitalism. And if we think about modes of production and how they create the social conditions that we live in, right? And this is something Marx talks about. You guys remember we read Capital chapter 1 together, right? And what did we see Marx talking about a lot? Well, all of society, how it's shaped around you, right? It's created based on whatever mode of production you're in. So if I'm a pillow, an object, this is an object, right, that you can buy and sell, sure. But it's my Fresno pillow. I didn't mean for that to happen, but
Wait, hold on. Can we, since we are this is a live thing that we have done literally no preparation for. I'm going to let the digressions fly.
Okay.
What the fuck is Greater Fresno?
Oh, well, Greater Fresno stems from the fact that more territory was promised to Fresnans back in the day in a very old book that you haven't read, I'm sure, but it's real and very, very important to us.
Where is this territory?
It's pretty much everywhere.
Okay, but so, right, because...
It's pretty much the whole thing. If you're thinking about the world.
No, but like, right,
it definitely includes San Jose. We've made it that far. We know that.
In our lifetime,
yes.
Fresno has been slowly colonizing north. Right, like
as God intended.
I think they're just cutting off pieces of Madera County.
That's our right. Our God-given right as Fresnans.
And turning
that actually used to be Fresno many, many, many years ago.
Into mega malls.
Correct. Well, strip malls.
Strip malls. I mean, like, they're big box store things.
Yes.
This is not a stop and rob situation.
No, a Best Buy. You could do that. You know, Paris, beautiful. Would love to put some Best Buys there. That's what we're interested in, really. Yeah.
Well, one of the things to do with the femicide stuff, and also with sort of the Balkanization of Yugoslavia, that I'm actually quite curious about is the candidate status of several formerly Yugoslavian states in the European Union.
Yes, that's interesting, especially because the EU is very like liberal. But let's wrap up the thought about why the woman question is important. What it has to do with capitalism. So if capitalism is a mode of production, we know it creates the social relations we see around us. It means that, you know, everything about your life, the way your world is structured, has to do with the fact that some rich dude can sell this and make a profit on it, right? So what that means is that women are relegated to the household, right, traditionally, because they were supposed to create more workers, as David said, and raise them so men can go off to work. And we know for poor women under capitalism, it's never really been how it broke down. They were expected to do that and work a job as well. So when people have worker revolutions, one of the things they've noticed is that women have not been allowed in public spaces. They've been relegated to the household. They've been kept in the house, quite literally. They don't have a public life. They have a very private life. They're there in the home with their kids. So the first challenge is, after a worker revolution in socialism and communism, is how do you get women literally out of the house and put in public spaces? Well, the first answer is get someone else to watch their kids. So that is why free childcare becomes one of the first initiatives in communism. It's teach people how to read and give people free childcare. So now all of a sudden you're taking your children somewhere in the public. Your children are dropped off in the public. Your children are being raised in the public. And sure, maybe there's people who are paid to be childcare providers, but that's their job and that's also in the public. And now you as a woman enter the workforce, you are a worker, and you also engage in political education just like the men do. And, you know, this is what it means to be a woman under socialism. You are constantly being drawn out of the private and into the public sphere. So this is one of the things that, regardless of how successful or unsuccessful you want to say the market-based socialism was in Yugoslavia, right? It was still a socialist project, and they did their best to bring women out of the public sphere. Now, when out of the private sphere, into the public sphere. Now, when Balkanization occurred and broke down socialism, it also broke down in former Yugoslavia all of those kind of social safety nets, things like free childcare, that allowed women to enter the public sphere. So women were relegated to the status of private sphere, or to this balancing act of public and private, where they had to maintain their homes and also go work a job that didn't give them very much free time, right? So yeah, that happened, and then what we see is the recommodification of women socially, basically, right? Mm-hmm. Women are relegated to objecthood to be bought or sold or consumed in this way. We try to commodify women, which I think is interesting.
I mean, this is something Engels talks about in his book on the family, and that Michael McKeon sort of develops in The Secret History of Domesticity, right?
Yeah,
like,
well, and what Biscowich in the chat is saying, this applies to white women, this very white women else. It's true, because we know that for black women, for example, they're expected to do this and then also raise white women's children, traditionally. They're in caregiver roles. They're in these roles, where they're expected to do both. I mean, I think though, so somebody's saying this standard ML analysis match ultra is, yes, but there is also this element of white womanish to it, because the idea that you would get to stay home and raise your family and one person's income would support you all, that was something that had to do more with white culture. That was a reality not often afforded to black women, certainly. They were forced to work, and very often enslaved and forced to work, right, in white families' homes to take care of their children. So I think I think what Biscowich is saying is actually true and important to add to that as well, and that's a byproduct of capitalism too. Well, depending on how you position enslaved people, if we're talking about,
I mean, right, like primitive accumulation, right, that type
versus
shit.
Labor.
Well, I mean, I guess the point I was making about Engels and McKeon is that like it is worth understanding the constructedness of privacy, and of domesticity as like an object within the superstructure of capitalism, like that is like doing ideological and material work.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
Yes. I
right,
think so.
And it is and like as anyone who has thought about it for a second, or like a lot of sort of post-colonial thinkers often point out, the whole structure of capitalism is in fact dependent upon slavery.
Yes.
Right, which is something that like the kind of ideological construction of capitalist by capitalists or capitalism by capitalists tends to ignore.
Yeah, I think that's true. So when we talk about when we talk about a place, right, balkanization obviously was the mechanism by which divide and conquer was done to Yugoslavia to turn them into smaller capitalist places, right? When we talk about any sort of transition out of communism or socialism into capitalism, it really is its own kind of shock effect, right? Like when we think about the USSR and what happened. Well, what happened when the USSR stopped being socialist, right?
It became a kleptocracy, right? Right. It was like the entire like all of Russia just became like, the property of a bunch of billionaires who were well positioned to take over key industries.
And then what happened to average people?
They got blue jeans and McDonald's.
No, they got alcoholism and started having to sell all their shit on the street, and they died premature, preventable deaths. And that's why we see that the destruction of the USSR contributed to one of the greatest single loss of life events in all of recorded human history. Yes, so...
But they died in blue jeans.
But they died in blue jeans with freedom at their side. But yeah, we see the destruction of socialism was also similarly catastrophic in Yugoslavia. And one of the byproducts of that was how it affected women, right? So, I don't know. I think like the general expansion kind of idea for us to discuss is like what that transition looks like and means. Like what it means to experience the loss of socialism in a place where you see your social safety nets like disappear. And I guess like that's kind of what I wanted to talk about for the bonus episode, more or less. Like what happens to a place when socialism goes?
Oh, well, you didn't tell me that, so I have nothing.
That's okay. We can free
But no, I mean, okay, can I put a word in about the EU shit?
Yes, do your EU analysis. Yes,
okay, it's not even a fucking analysis, but right, like I was talking to a friend of mine because Bosnia, and I think I mentioned this on our main episode or whatever, Bosnia is currently at candidate status for EU membership, and they are having to accelerate a lot of sort of like anti-corruption stuff, but also tighten borders. Like this is a part of their accession to EU membership.
Okay.
But I was looking at another candidate who is saying that they are hopeful that they will gain full membership status by 2030, Albania. And
yes,
what has happened in Albania as they have begun the process of EU membership, which has been massive brain drain and a kind of financialization of the market that has not done well for them. One estimate from Albanian Daily News says that it looks as though the cost of brain drain from Albania has soared to about 500 million euros per year, just because of so many people leaving the country.
Okay, so what is the cause of people leaving the country?
Well, it's
What
because
is the
they,
country
right,
driven
like,
by?
because there are greater economic opportunities for, or people, educated people, outside of Albania that they suddenly have access to, and because of the sort of, like, financial impact of EU membership or being incorporated into the euro.
Like the austerity measures? that
It's
come along with
austerity,
that?
but it's also just, like, it's better to be in the West if you are an educated person from Albania, right?
So yeah, it's like, okay, if you're like, if we're doing capitalism, I'm gonna capitalism where all of the resources are going to,
Yeah.
not where all the resources are getting taken from.
Yeah, so EU membership has, in, like, human terms, but also in material terms, been, like, an extractive thing for Albania. And I think my prediction is it's the same thing for Bosnia.
Yes.
Like,
Okay, wait, Nadia Bakir in the Twitch stream chat, are you currently living in former Yugoslavia? Because we talk about this area a lot with you. And I guess I just always assumed you lived there in the Balkans. Because Nadia just said what David is talking about is a huge and important issue in the Balkans, and we're glad you guys are bringing it up. So if Nadia's there, I'm going to see what they say.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's, like, that...
yes, Nadia's in North Macedonia.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Like, what is the appeal of EU membership for these countries?
I mean, I think it's, like, the idea is that it gives you access to the common market, right? Like, it gives you access to what Perry Anderson calls, like, bourgeois Eurocommunism. And which is, like, a large part of the reason why, like, the class divide shook out the way it did during Brexit, was that a lot of the middle class were like, but we get access to, like, our vacation homes in fucking Portugal or whatever.
Right.
And there is for, like, a large middle class, like a large European middle class, a lot of benefit to being in the European community, but that benefit often does not get spread across classes, right? Or
Right.
it leaves out a substantial sort of subaltern and working class.
Right. Okay, so then DJ Falafel says there's a lot of immigration from the Balkans to Germany, and Gorlina Room at the same time says, I have so many friends from the Balkans who are highly educated, all came to Germany.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, because Germany, we also see, if we think about the idea that maybe the EU is trying to get it together and become its own unified force in, like, a multipolar future, right? Which I don't know if they will or not. I think they should.
I mean, right, like, it's better that there isn't just us.
Right. I don't know how ethical it is, but I think that strategically for themselves they should. That's not what would push.
But
They
like, the
just
problem
should.
is like the EU is another capital center, and as a consequence of which, it's like it has not resolved the contradictions of capitalism.
Right.
And so the EU's expansion, especially when it comes to, like, metropole versus periphery, you know, the countryside surrounding the city, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Like, those contradictions are just going to be extended to EU member states, as we saw after the 2010 crisis, when a lot of the poorer countries who had been wrapped up in the EU, like Greece and Spain, suddenly got hit with some of the harshest fucking austerity measures. You're gonna have to read the fucking comments to me, because I cannot pay attention.
No. I mean, it's true. So Nadia is saying Germany is the ultimate escape fantasy for most Macedonians. Almost everybody I know is considered moving to Germany at some point in time, and that's what I'm thinking. It's like, okay, so if the EU decides to get it together and become their own capitalist powerhouse in a new multipolar world, which I think would be of strategic advantage to them, I'm not sure if they'll do it. It does seem like with Germany increasing its militarization, Germany would become like the, for lack of a better word, metropole of the EU.
Well, I mean, Germany has long been kind of the metropole of the EU, right? Like, when the EU was the fucking, like, a common coal and steel market or whatever fucking bullshit they were, the idea was, and I can't remember if this was applied to NATO or EU, but I think it stands for EU, which was, like, to keep the US in, Germany down, and France up, or whatever, which was essentially, like, let's not do Nazi 2.0, and that involves keeping Germany in.
Right.
Right.
Gorlina Room says, my boyfriend just told me a joke they have in Bosnia. When you graduate university and go to the employment agency, they ask, so do you want to work as a waiter or a construction worker? Wow. Bisco Witch says, Zionist Germany is getting worse by the minute. So my partner, Bobby, actually wanted to move to Germany a few years ago because they're really into electronic music. And they went out to Germany and spent a long amount of time there and planning to move, right? They were like, okay, I'm going to move to Germany. I'm going to do it.
Dude,
and they were so sketched out by the Zionist and fascist elements in Germany. They were like, oh, like I feel like this is even worse than the United States in many ways, which I was like, whoa.
So an ex-girlfriend of mine's cousin once called all of Berlin Burning Man but goth, and I haven't been able to unsee it. But it has taken whatever romance Berlin had
away
for me.
Okay, so Dirt or Bus asked, what is a metropole? Can you explain that?
The metropole is the financial and urban center of capitalism.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to expand on it a little bit more? Like how the flow of capital goes and what it means for surrounding areas?
The flow of capital flows from the global periphery, those places that have either material or often human resources. So all of that in terms of sort of like it flows back to the metropole. I don't know. You put me in one of those dumb situations.
You're a teacher.
Yeah, fuck that. No,
Okay, so basically the metropole just means like, look, the way capitalist works, you got the surrounding areas end up funneling all their resources to one main area, right? Mm-hmm. And the main area is where, think of it like the elites live, right? The rich people, the owning class, they live in these fancy cities. They don't, well, sometimes they live in fucking rural Montana, but that's usually just for a few days out of the year because they think it's kitschy.
And they get their cars registered there.
Yes, that's right. So they basically live in these urban cities. They live in New York City, right? They live in Los Angeles. But all that it takes to sustain New York City, Los Angeles is flowing from the outer regions. So the metropole is who is receiving the benefits in capitalism from all these other regions, flowing resources to it. Now, this is why if you read early Marx, you'll see him toy around with some kooky ideas about like basically suburbanizing the world. He's like, we got to make the countrysides more urban and the urban centers more country. And it really feels like he wants just one big suburbia because he thinks that it's a method to equalize this issue. Now, I would argue that we found other ways to equalize this issue under communism, and that's not necessarily the most effective way to go about it. However, like if we look at China's policy to eliminate rural poverty, they lifted 800 million people out of poverty. Those are mostly in rural areas, and they are working on developing rural areas and connecting them with train access to the city centers, etc. And I think China is a good example of how we look at the practical implications of minimizing the harm done to rural communities in communism with that same thing. But yeah, I think, Hunger Games. People have Hunger Games. Yeah. If you're Hunger Games reference, the capital versus the district. Yes, exactly. So that's a good way to understand the metropole. Yeah, so Heater is here says I think we should do a whole stream on what the fuck is wrong with Germany.
We did a whole fucking episode on what the fuck is wrong with Germany.
We did?
It's on Patreon.
Oh.
Do you not remember this? It was about, the far right in Germany.
Oh, we did. I do remember.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat said Germany never met a genocide they couldn't get behind. That's so true. Yeah, very, very fascinating. So, okay. So the other thing, though, that I do want to talk about more is like, what are the other tangible effects? What does it mean to decommunize? What does it mean to desocialize? What does that look like? And I obviously know the effects here in the United States because one of the things I think about a lot, which you guys have probably heard me talk about from time to time, is when the USSR fell, was destroyed is a better way to think about it. They didn't fall. They were intentionally dismantled.
The fuck?
I'm getting a phone call.
Oh.
Hold on.
Someone calls you?
Hold on. Yeah, it's my commie club. Hold on. I got a message really fast and just let them know. I'm going to say, hi, sorry, I forgot I have to do a podcast thing. Can I call this afternoon? Okay, my bad. There was my call. I told them to call me and I didn't.
There is.
But yeah, no. So what I think about a lot is that when the USSR was destroyed, certain protections still advanced and like, or not advanced, but like were maintained post the destruction. They had a longer expiration period. So like 1991, no more USSR. But in Russia, for example, housing protections continued up until around like the year 2000-ish. Don't quote me on the exact year, but for almost a decade. So what we saw here in the United States is that our housing, the second the former USSR's housing protections expired and their housing started to get charged at market rate, etc. In the United States, that's conveniently when our housing prices shot up and we started entering what would become the subprime loan.
Well, I mean, yeah,
crisis.
that you can tell better than me whether or not there was some sort of like causal relationship between those two facts. It seems like there was a fucking financialization of housing across the board as a kind of like, well, we financialized every other fucking thing. I was actually talking to a friend of mine, speaking about one of the last remaining social democratic institutions in the United States, public schooling. And what has happened to that as it has begun to be emptied out by private contractors and charter schools. And the position he has two special needs children, and in a failing public school system, and he's put in between a rock and a hard place where now he is sending his children to charter schools, which is exacerbating the problem, but it's like the poison is the only thing left for him.
Right. So somebody I follow on TikTok was talking about a similar thing, but a little bit different. And they were saying that their kid's school is now moving to become a full AI school, which I didn't even know was a thing. And they're like, I'm very opposed to like private schooling, but I feel like now I have to like basically homeschool my kid or something. I don't know, because I'm not going to let my kid go to an AI school. What does that even mean? I mean, but like it is like the fucking millennial subsidy. The millennial subsidy was the fact that a bunch of like weird tech startups provided us a bunch of services when we were in our 20s. Like cheap DoorDash and cheap Uber? Yeah, and then like once they eliminated all of the like old-fashioned competitors, right? Like taxi services and shit like that, and like just going to the fucking restaurant, never mind. Yeah. Right, like they jacked up their fucking prices. Yeah. But I think, right, like the charter school model is kind of the same thing again, where what has happened sort of incrementally over the years is that through insisting upon private contractors in public schools or through undercutting public schools in terms of resources, charter schools have kind of destroyed a lot of the infrastructure for public schools so that it is going to become, I think very soon, difficult to find a place for your child in a public school. Yeah, I think that is something that's happening. And I think that's also a byproduct here in the United States. I know that our education situation is a byproduct also of the destruction of the USSR, because one of the reasons we started investing heavily in education programs in the United States was because the USSR was beating us in the space race. And that was, I was talking to some like philosophy professor at like a curator walkthrough like 3 weeks ago. And we were talking about that fucking Rock Hill book. The Who Pays the Piper thing. Oh, yeah. Which I think is one of the, like, I was like, this is some of the dumbest shit I've ever read in my entire life. But it was because, like, the CIA was just funding every fucking university, or, like, the CIA, the State Department, the U.S. state was funding every university to this crazy degree because they were fighting the Soviet Union. Right. And it was like, I had a professor, who's retired now, who got, like, he went to, what's the school in Baltimore? Google this, whatever. The fancy ass school. Baltimore school. The fancy ass college in Baltimore. Baltimore College of Dental Surgery. No? Johns Hopkins. He went to Johns Hopkins. Not the dental. Right. And like the idea was that he was going to do like philosophy math shit. And it was on some sort of like State Department ass grant. And then he got there and was like, there isn't enough philosophy math shit for me to do, so I'm doing classics. Okay, got it. And he still got State Department money to like read Aristotle. It's crazy. And it's like that's what the U.S. state was. That's why I think the Rock Hill argument is ridiculous. Okay, well, Rock Hill was on the D program. They liked the book apparently. DJ Falafel says, David's not one of us. You guys need to know that. David's not one of us. Chat. My last podcast co-host is an anarchist. So David is an orthodox Marxist. I'm not an orthodox Marxist. What are you? Just a Marxist. What are you? Just a Marxist. So David's not one of us. David's a Marxist-Lenin, not a Marxist-Leninist like us. So that's going to affect how he texts you about these. They say he's got a little bit of a soft spot for the colleges. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. First time chat, Joe fucking Biden says the spirit of Biden will win the next election. They'll probably run him. I don't know. No, he does not criticize the Frankfurt School. That's what I mean. Not one of us. It's okay though. Not a Nuki. Not a Nuki. I'm not going to be able to convert him. Any position I take, David will definitely take the opposite position because we have an adversarial relationship. With each other. So it's going to be that. I know you can hear David peeing because the microphone's so good. That's how good the microphone is. That should be an ad for Yeti Blue Microphone. Sponsor us. I don't know. David does like old guns. I think we could get him into the tanks. You know? I think we could get him into that. Oh, I have to become a trot so David becomes a Marxist-Leninist just to fight me. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I told you.
Like old what?
You're not. You know, you like colleges. You don't oppose the Frankfurt School.
What the fuck? I feel like if it's 2026 and you oppose the Frankfurt School, the last of whom fucking died recently, the dumbest of whom fucking died recently, and I cracked a ill-timed joke about it to that philosophy professor who was like, "Oh, I knew him."
Oh.
But
this is David's world. Is the
no, it's just I think
David
that
is a Marxist. David is a Marxist. Yes.
Oh, I'm not on the fucking thing.
Yeah.
I think that people who infer ideological things about a diverse and often violently disagreeing group of thinkers, based off of the fact that like they got some State Department funding in 1960 or whatever, are engaging in bizarre, I don't know. I think it's not licensed by just like the degree to which the State Department was funding every fucking college. That seems fair.
So you see why David and I
So
fight.
are you saying...
You see why David and I fight, chat. You understand.
So you're saying that Charles fucking Young, my old professor, who taught about Aristotle and Plato, and was just a grumpy old man, you're like, well, at some point when he was 21, he accepted a State Department grant. You're saying that guy is basically...
Compromised.
John Foster fucking Dulles.
No, I'm not saying he's fucking Dulles. What I am saying is that... Look, here's what I'm saying. The other day, Bobby sent me an article about Taiwan. Not an article. It was an article about a book a guy had written about Taiwan. He was a historian. And I said, Bobby, you need to know something about this guy, which is that he received a National Endowment for Humanities grant, right? Which means that the United States government acknowledged that he is peddling a pro-U.S. government position on this issue. And Bobby looked at it and was like, but the grant was given after the book was written. So the book was not influenced by the grant. And I was like, correct, but now go look at who his doctoral advisors were in school. And his doctoral advisors both also received National Endowment for Humanities grants. So I was like, this man got through his entire doctoral education the bias, guidance, and advisement of two people who also had been marked approved by the U.S. government for having a pro-U.S. perspective. Now, when you're in academia, as I'm sure you know, David, you can look at two people who both have doctorates in the same degree saying this different things and fighting with each other all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. But you need to be aware of where the bias lies. So for these people, their bias has been marked safe by the U.S. government. And that's something that, you know, maybe it influences how they write. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it influences the information they are moving through the world assuming is true because of who advised them or the bias their school has. Like, if you learn economics from University of Chicago, we know that means something because we understand the institutional bias in economics of the University of Chicago, right? So different academic institutions carry different biases, and different people in academia have their own biases, and if it's marked okay and good by the United States, we understand that is their bias. And maybe some people do perform to that because they know they'll get more grant money. Maybe some people don't. Maybe some people naturally are producing that work and they're taking the grant money because they're like, yeah, why not? But at any rate, we know that you're getting the pro-American perspective.
I mean, I don't know about that, right? Like, I think that, you know, there was a review of the Rock Hill book that was critical of but engaged with it. So it wasn't like yes or no. But it was like, it actually shows just how fucking canny the, like, U.S. State Department was in understanding the culture industry, right? In the sense that it was like, it's not about promoting a specifically pro-U.S. perspective so much as it is mobilizing a robust public sphere as a kind of argument against socialism, which is bizarre and contradictory on its face, but you understand what's happening, where it's like, oh, we are going to promote this like huge culture industry of lots of thinkers who are often highly critical of the US, right, in order to show just what a flourishing like public square we have here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like I think that for me, what is the utility in showcasing a flourishing public square under capitalism? It's to advance the idea that capitalism allows these things. And it's the same thing when I tell people on the internet I'm a communist, and they're like, "Well, you're allowed to be a communist under capitalism. Freedom, the freedom you get that from classical liberalism, neoliberalism, whatever. The freedom you get allows you to get on the internet and say you're a communist. Under communism, you couldn't do the opposite, which that's not even true, but whatever. That's the reason. It's all strategically designed the same way the CIA funded abstract expression start, right? To make you think you're so free and you have all these freedoms under capitalism that aren't afforded to you under socialism. So like the juxtaposition is about the what supposedly authoritarian and totalitarian nature of socialism, and that's always what it's positioned against. So it's like these social trons being funded in capitalism. It's not innocuous. They do it intentionally to try to structure a comparative analysis of art, of culture, of education in socialism and capitalism. That's always the underlying
that's what I just said.
Right. So but like that's still a motive, is that not still
that's definitely but like one of the things that I think like this the kind of like, oh well, they took a State Department grant or whatever, so fuck them thing ends up doing, that's you, yes.
Yeah, they took a State Department grant, fuck them. Yeah, I'm hard line on that.
Right, like, it distracts from, like, actually engaging with the ideas. And, like, the sort of, like, Adorno, Marcuse, Horkheimer, that sort of crew, the first-ish, second generation, as well as Lukács, but he's, related different. Like, it was like, okay, like, in the sort of advanced capitalist countries where one would have expected socialism to break out in the 30s, it did not.
Right. I mean, I think we saw socialism tended to develop in agrarian peasant.
Right. And so, economies. Like they were like, okay, we need to like go back to our source material and do a sort of new analysis of capital that like develops from Marx, right? In order to understand why it did not happen the way we like. They did like a sort of like, they were like, the guy left behind by like the Halley's Comet cult. Like the guy who accidentally lived, who was like, oh, fuck.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Haeckel's Big Dialecticals also is on your side. It says, dismissing the entirety of the Frankfurt School, even if used by the CIA, is undialectical.
Yeah.
And that might be true, but I'm still allowed to be bratty about it on the internet.
I mean,
okay, here's my whole thing. My whole thing is never that you need to dismiss everything. It's that you need to understand the bias that goes into every version of a story. And so that's why I think as Marxists, we tell people our bias. I tell people, I'm a Marxist-Leninist. This is my bias. My bias is that I believe Marxist-Leninism is the appropriate way to conduct society, right? And my goal is to get you to either be a Marxist-Leninist or at least to not hate Marxist-Leninists. And I tell people that up front. So I think that it's important for all of us to understand the goals, intention, the bias behind every text we read, the motive of everything involved. That doesn't mean they can't make a hell of a good point once in a while, right? And I think even Parenti spoke about this in the Yugoslavia book at the beginning. He's like, sometimes places you think are bad sources will report things that are against their best interest. And when that happens, you don't still cast it aside. You go, oh, well, I'm actually going to take special note of that because it is against the best interest. And so, yeah, just the idea that you dismiss everything because of its origin, I mean, I think that is like an oversimplification. But I think to understand the bias of the origin, to understand the motive in how something's being discussed or reporting, or to understand what influences might be there, I think that's important, right? And that's the same reason for you guys in chat. You want to know, I want to know if I'm talking to a communist, I'm like, oh, well, like, are you Trotskyist? Because that's going to, now I have the understanding of why you're talking about things the way you are, what your thought process is behind that. And that doesn't mean no Trotskyist has ever made a good point. That doesn't mean Trotsky himself didn't make good points.
I'm a big fan of the Ernest Mandel guy.
Who's the Ernest Mandel guy?
He's the guy who coined the term late capitalism.
Oh.
And it was like Ernest, like that was like I think he was from the Netherlands. I can't remember. Belgium, Netherlands, somewhere in there. But it was sort of like an attempt to understand capitalism as it had developed post-war in an interesting way as like a global phenomenon in which finance was decentralized.
Right. So Hegel's Big Dialecticals and Leaf 1712 are saying the Gabriel Rockhill book does not dismiss the whole Frankfurt School. And David, you actually had an experience with Gabriel Rockhill.
No,
right?
no, it was with a professor.
Oh, the professor.
Yeah.
The professor. So David had that experience.
Yeah.
Where you talked to somebody
and she was like, no, that's not the point. I think what has happened is that when Rockhill's book has sort of like filtered out into people talking about it, it has been used as like a cudgel, right? Like as a way of being like, well, like, you know, there's one weird argument that he makes in the book where it's like, I think it's Horkheimer was taking State Department funding while he was at Berkeley, I want to say, and there was some like Operation Paperclip ass Nazi wandering around on the State Department's dime. And Rockhill is like, well, it would be crazy that they didn't meet.
Yeah.
Right. And that one I was like, that's speculation. Come on, guy.
It's speculation. Yeah. So, I mean, I think though, like I'm trying to think of a way we can like bring this back to our original topic, which is obviously supposed to be like, what is the effect of transitioning out of socialism and into capitalism and
can I give it a go?
Yeah, give it a go. How do you connect?
Right,
connect
like for bizarre, like absolutely fucking bizarre reasons, the Cold War produced in the United States a robust public social democratic infrastructure. Right? Extraordinarily bizarre that it did that.
Well, we wanted to keep up.
Yeah, we wanted
to compete. We're like, holy shit, the Soviets are kicking our ass at everything. They're putting people in space. They're doing all this shit.
They're putting dogs in space.
Yeah, they're like, how do we put dogs in space? And then someone was like, well, you got to teach people how to put dogs in space. And they're like, fund the colleges, open them up. Yeah.
And, right, what has been happening, and I think this is something Quinn Slobodian is like, you know, this is one of his main talking points, is that like it's not so much that the private sector like is a parasite on the public so much as it colonizes the public and then like takes it over, right? Like which has been what has happened to so many formerly, you know, public institutions in the United States, from our healthcare system to our schools.
Give me. I was following up until, but maybe I'm not following.
Oh,
so
okay,
give
right.
me the explanation on that.
Right. So when I talked about the
happen?
schools and like the charter schools are essentially like under fucking cutting all of our public institutions.
So that's
and
what you mean, because they're like a private entity, and then they're yeah. That's
and then like
I was thinking the private life, like in the home, like domestically, like the
no.
Okay, that makes sense.
But like all of these sort of like, you know, private capital institutions, this is actually what's happened to our security state with companies or with the CIA's like investment firm InQtel or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Right, like where there is like what has started out as a public-private partnership, like the private side of that partnership has begun to take the lead.
Yes.
Right. So it is all of the weird tech firms that InQtel is invested in that are taking the lead. This is a point that is getting very far.
No, yeah, London's Best Gay just says, I love how far we've drifted from balkanization.
No, okay.
Corey in the house says, hey, David, I'm a hot rich girl and my dad's a Republican.
Okay. Call back. Right, like what has happened when our social institutions have been emptied out by and we can look around us, and like when people throw around the term neo-feudalism, they do so for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
Because we've all been immiserated.
Right.
Everything that was good.
And shitification, people call it as well.
Oh, yes.
And shitification. Right, the enshitification of everything.
Yeah. I think that, you know, and you wanted to talk about it in terms of the abuse of women and the treatment of women as commodities.
Well, I think that, like, that was just my entry point. Because it's like, look at the horrors that befall people in this transition. This idea of freedom. But, like, what is freedom? And I think back to the China, the thing, freedom is a bowl of rice. Mm-hmm. Right? In China, they say freedom is a bowl of rice because when you have a bowl of rice, you don't have to spend your whole day trying to figure out how to get a bowl of rice, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of freedom and how we think about freedom and, you know, so capitalism, free market democracy, liberal freedoms, right? Your individual freedom juxtaposed against the freedom of the market or whatever. I always say the sliding scale between your freedom to not be exploited by your boss and your boss's freedom to exploit you, right? Mm-hmm. It's liberalism in a nutshell. So what does it mean to be free as a woman under capitalism compared to what it means to be free as a woman under socialism? And like, what is the bowl of rice for women? Like, freedom is a bowl of rice in China. As a woman under socialism, freedom is free childcare, guaranteed housing, so that if your husband is abusive, you're not stuck in the relationship and you can leave. Freedom is guaranteed right to work, so you can go get your own source of employment.
I mean, there was like a sort of, and I think it is in the Secret History of Domesticity, the McKeon book or whatever. Of people making fun of me in the fucking comments.
No. They like you. They have a crush on you. It's fine.
But I can't read the fucking comments and think at the same time. That's
it's okay.
a crazy thing.
Yeah.
But right, like the understanding in sort of like early like 18th century ass like ideological terms of domesticity was as like a separate spheres thing, where it was like, no, you are the queen of the home. You, like, the man is like out in the public sphere, but you are like, you have domain in the home.
You have your own little agency and power.
Yeah. And I mean, like, which is like a fucking sop and ridiculous.
Right.
But like, there was like an attempt to sort of like make the ideological pieces connect.
Right. Right. Which is interesting though, because I think, okay, so this is another thing I think about too. Like, I've talked about this as well, and doing the Vote Socialist volunteer work has been very, very interesting, because obviously Lennon was right, and I hate when that happens. Lennon was like so right, and you feel stupid afterwards because you're like, oh, this is what Lennon was talking about. How many people are willing to talk to you about communism, about socialism, about what they dislike, about capitalism, about changes they want to see around them in society, if you simply attach it to the name of a candidate who's running and hand them a placard that says there's someone they can vote for? All of a sudden they'll listen to you talk about everything all day long. So one of the most interesting things that I've seen in these spaces where we do these events where our Marxist candidates are up on stage, our Marxist-Leninist candidates are up on stage talking to people who aren't Marxists, who aren't communists, who maybe still consider themselves Democrats, who just feel politically disengaged, whatever. They have not achieved class consciousness, right? And they're asking questions like, well, what's your platform for trans people? What's your platform for gay people? And I see from the Marxist perspective, the answer is always the same. It's, we want to give you free housing and healthcare and guarantee jobs. And you really think about like the path to liberation being so material, because whatever your problems are in society, we can't snap our fingers and make bigotry and bias go away, certainly. But we can make it so that the impact of the bigotry and the bias upon you does not fundamentally alter your material life, right? Well, if you are experiencing housing discrimination because you're queer, because you're trans, well, now all of a sudden you're guaranteed a house, so it doesn't matter. Your landlord can't evict you. Nobody can discriminate on you because you're guaranteed a house just as a human, by virtue of being a human. If you are having a hard time holding on a job, if you're worried that you can't go into your workplace being yourself, right, without getting harassed, if you're worried you won't get hired in the first place, or you can't transition while you have a job, whatever, well, that's just off the table now because you're guaranteed a job. Nobody can ever take a job from you. If your boss fires you, whatever, you're going to go get a better job that's guaranteed to you by our government, right? That would be the solution to that. Or healthcare. It's like, okay, well, you're a transgender person. You get free healthcare. Free healthcare includes gender affirming care. You just get free healthcare. That's a non-issue now. You can do whatever you feel you need for your particular healthcare in whatever moment you want. And how they're expecting these answers, I think, that come under liberalism, that are these vague nods towards identity politics. But in reality, the way to help marginalized people, the way to help women, the way to help trans people, the way to help Black people, the way to help Indigenous people is to give them these very, very basic needs that can be achieved just because by virtue of them being human, right? And this is why I always say, like, the ultimate irony is that communism, even though we get like this bad reputation for being anti-identity politics, communism resolves identity politics certainly better than Democrats do. Definitely better than Republicans do, but I think Republicans are better at playing the identity politics game than Democrats are, which is funny. So it's these very like material things. So when you take away the material support to people who are historically marginalized or oppressed by society, you take away the right to a house, you take away the right to a job, you take away the right to healthcare. You see how all of the bias and bigotry, the isms of society now have an actual tangible material effect on your life. They're not just empty words or phrases that fucking annoy you but you carry on your day. They're now things that could kill you.
I mean, one thing, right, first of all, have you ever thought about a second career as an auctioneer?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. No, I mean, I've in my life, I have noticed that people are often quite malleable and mercenary about their bigotries and biases in this way where it's like, if it doesn't fucking affect me, I'm not going to think about it. But if I'm having a bad day, I think I've joked with you that, like, the most you'll ever hate poor people is when you yourself are poor, because that's when poor people are in your way.
No, you've never made this joke to me.
No, it's like, right,
What?
if you are poor and you have to go, like, you go to the poor person grocery store and
Yes.
everyone is having a million unmet crises.
Yes.
Right? Around you, and you are also having a million unmet crises at the same time, then everyone else around you is suddenly in your fucking way.
Yeah.
Right.
I can see that, yeah.
And I think, right, like, a lot of bigotry, a lot of bias, it's not that people don't hold them, it's just that it becomes kind of immaterial to them if it's, like, not effective, if, like, their life is going well. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, if they're just, like, coasting, then it's like, well, why the fuck would I care about that shit? Right? Like, you don't care about welfare queens until you feel like you are up against the fucking wall.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, like, something that I think about is, do you remember the year that I had money?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that happened the year that I had money, everybody at our work had money. We're at my workplace, Worker Collective, we all divide everything equally. So we had a bonker sales year. Everything was good. It was like 3 years, actually, maybe 2.5 years, where it was like crazy. It was unprecedented. I was like, I know this isn't going to last. This is temporary, but like, whoa. And during that time, one of the things we voted to do with our extra money as a benefit, as a perk for everybody at the company, was to pay for gym memberships, including personal trainers. And I remember going to the gym for the first time with a personal trainer, and the gym was nice. Afterwards, they had like, not a sauna, but like a steam room, and you sit in the steam room, and you're feeling really, really good, and you leave, and you're so relaxed. I remember sitting in the car with Chris, my ex at the time, and I was like, oh, nothing in the world could annoy me right now. Like, I feel so good. I'm so chilled out. And I looked at Chris and I was like, holy shit, is this how rich people feel all the time? Mm-hmm. Right? You can actually afford these things to bring down your stress levels. Not to mention you already have financial stability, which takes off a bunch of stress, right?
Yeah.
But then you can also afford these extra luxuries throughout your day that just make you feel so fucking good. And I get what you're saying. It's like, I had not a problem in the world that day. Not a care in the world. Nothing could have upset me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like...
And that's how rich people feel every single fucking day.
And then that becomes their new norm. And then, like, if you threaten to take away their, like, sixth, like, I don't know, S-class, they get all verklempt.
Yeah.
But, like, that's down the line. It's just, like, when you're up against the wall, like, it's easy to resent all of the other people who are up against the same fucking wall.
Yeah. No, I can see that, definitely. Yeah.
But my point being, to you're talking about canvassing, that it's like, I don't know, a lot of, like, if a lot of problems get solved, everyone's just, like, more chilled out, right? Like, which is a very, like, woo, nebulous way of putting it, but, like...
No, it's true.
It's just, like a lot of the sort of bizarre formulations of, like, when the Democrats sort of... decide whether or not to support trans people, as though, like, trans people are a kind of, like, fungible quality that they can, like, buy shares of.
Right.
Like, that ceases to be an issue if everyone's material needs are met.
Yeah.
Right. And it ceases to be, like, something that you can weaponize.
Right. And yes, and that's the same. That's why Democrats can never give you liberation, right? They have to campaign on you maybe magically being liberated one day, right?
Yeah.
That's part of it as well. And it's
and it's, I mean, like, one of the things I've been thinking a lot about in the last few days is, like, it seems to me as though labor, and specifically labor bureaucracy, is beginning to wake up to the fact that the, like, 20th century alliance with the Democratic Party has been basically fruitless, at least for a long fucking time. And labor's... I have a lot of reasons to doubt labor's efficacy, but it seems like there's a restlessness that I haven't known in my lifetime.
Yeah, I actually would say that a lot of our new recruits to the Peace and Freedom Party movement come from labor unions. And we're starting to see labor unions endorse Peace and Freedom Party candidates out here in California. And for you guys who aren't from California, Peace and Freedom Party is our historic socialist electoral arm. So they are an umbrella org that runs different socialists under...
and also Roseanne Barr.
And also that one time Roseanne Barr, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, so they run a lot of Marxist Leninist candidates, etc. So we are literally seeing labor unions endorse Marxists.
Like they're
under the Peace and Freedom Party
they are
instead of Democrats.
abandoning, at least in small ways, the alliance with the Democratic Party, and I think that is all to the good because it has done nothing.
Right. Okay, so this is a good comment from Nadia. I remember my liberal shameful past going around telling people they needed to meditate and therapize to deal with their problems. I was in a very privileged financial situation at the time, and I saw firsthand how hard it becomes to therapize your way out of problems when your material reality changes. Yeah, and so there's this experiment that I always think about that researchers did with rats, and they put rats in these two different environments, right? So one environment was like rat paradise. Like they gave the rats all the things that the rats love to have a good rat life. And then the other one was like rat hell. It was like not torture, but it was like, a barren, cold, empty, nothing rats enjoy whatsoever, rat purgatory, if you will. And for both of the cages, they had a regular water bottle, and then they had like a medicated water bottle that had some sort of drug in it that would induce rat euphoria. And so for both of the cages, when they put them both in, the rats tried both. They sampled both, so they knew what was going on with one. In the rat paradise cage, they hardly ever tapped into the rat euphoria drugs. In the rat misery cage, they were on that thing all the time. They were addicted to it. They were constantly getting their hit from this. And I think about this a lot because it's like, well, yeah, if your material needs are met, if you are thriving, if you're in a good place, you don't need to go seek all of the like Nadia was saying. It's like therapize, meditate, whatever. Well, just your material needs being met is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you in terms of your well-being. And so when I was in Cuba, one of the people that was with us when we were getting a tour of a hospital asked the hospital director, with the effects of the blockade going on in Cuba, how do you feel like the average Cuban is doing in terms of mental health? Like, do you guys have a lot of people coming to you for mental health issues? The stress must be unbearable, blah, 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 blah. How do you as a hospital treat people's mental health issues? And because she's a Marxist, like 90% of people on the island, she was like, well, we know that the way to address your mental health concerns are to treat material reality first. So whenever somebody comes to us with a mental health concern, we first take a look at their materials reality, and we ask them materially what's going on in your life that's causing this. And sometimes it just means we have to work with somebody in this org because maybe they're eligible for like one of the social programs they're not taking advantage of. They would help this, and that's going to help it more than medication and therapy would. So one of the things that this ties into is in Cuba they have these programs for the elderly and the disabled, and just people who maybe are a little bit special needs in your neighborhood. If you aren't able to work, right, because of any condition, you have access to these community resource centers. I believe they're called SAFs or SDFs. I can't remember exactly. But there are basically cantinas in every single neighborhood where you can go to get like free food. So you can go there in the daytime, they'll prepare your meals for free, and you can sit and you can watch TV and you can play games and you socialize with other people. So a lot of elderly people go there and a lot of disabled people go there. So I went to one and I met a woman, for example, who's schizophrenic. So she was not able to work and she was medicated and treated for her schizophrenia. But she was lonely, sitting at home all day, right? She had a child who went to school and they would come home, but all day she was very, very lonely. She was dealing with a lot of loneliness. So she got approved to go to the SDF, SAF, whatever it is, because of her mental health condition. And she's like, yeah, I just come here every day. They cook my meals for me and I get to hang out with, and there were other people there. She's like, yeah, we get to hang out. And then because she also was not reliably able to provide food for her child because of her mental health episodes, they also sent her home with food for her and her kid for dinner. So she didn't have to worry about that. So her depression, her loneliness, her isolation was resolved by a community program they had where they were like, now you can go and you can go be around people and you're not so lonely. And SAF, thank you. So you're not so isolated anymore. And that's their approach to dealing with mental health, right? It's not take a pill, call us tomorrow, tell us how you feel, and maybe we'll talk about it for an hour. Because while talk therapy can help some people, and medication certainly helped with things like schizophrenia, things like depression, loneliness, isolation, those are like a lot of culture-bound syndromes very, very often. If you change the culture, you can address those issues. That was in Cuba. Sailor Mike 93. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Cuba they have those. It's very, very amazing. Yeah.
Well.
Okay, so that's it. So we're at an hour mark here. You guys have all seen David. Let's do a few minute Q&A. Let's set.
No.
No, you don't want to do Q&A?
I don't want to be cued.
David will be cued.
No, I will not be cued. I refuse.
Let's see. Maybe David will take some questions.
Okay.
Maybe you can set some off limits. No dating questions.
You know what? Ask me anything about Madeline. There we go.
Okay, yeah. David Q&A. David is here. Sophomores in high school.
We
you can ask David
are
anything
approaching
about me.
our 25-year mark.
We've known each other longer than we haven't known each other.
Yes, by many years.
Yes. We of course asked David, do you support Fresno?
I love Fresno. I'm trying to get a friend of mine to go there, but I think we're going on a skiing trip instead.
I'm trying to get my partner to go to Fresno.
Yeah, the underground gardens are amazing. Yoshinawa is amazing.
Teaser.
You have a weird thing about
Teaser.
Teaser was exciting when I was in Fresno because it was an alternative to the Review, which I believe is now closed.
It's Component Coffee now. They let us do commie organizing there.
I mean, that's nice, but I
know Review. I miss Review.
Are they still because the Review was cozy?
It's not as cozy. I'm not gonna lie to you,
it's
David.
millennial bullshit.
Yeah, it's not as cozy, but
I don't love that.
Okay, Dirt or Bust says, where do I get the coolest shirts in Fresno? Yoshino,
obviously. Though specifically, and I understand, it used to be the case that the Nabisco.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's at Nabisco anymore though.
But that was like a secret.
There was a secret old Nabisco warehouse that was full of just vintage junk and piles.
And it was the same. It was Yoshi. But it was all of the stuff that he hadn't priced yet.
So cool.
And it was...
And our old friend Rio, his daughter, worked there. Yeah.
That was cool. I have one of his old football shirts.
Cool. Okay, Zay or Fork?
Fork, obviously.
I mean, just because you know Fork.
No, yeah. I know. Zay, I respect. Every time I'm over here, there's about a 50-50 chance that Zay is going to attack me. So, but I think, like...
That's her right.
Yeah, that's her right.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, but, like, Fork just lays on my neck all the time.
Yeah, so she does. She just the same way she'll lay around you and put her head. It's really, really cute. Okay. David, for your specific brand of Marxist ideology, if you were to recommend one book to people, what would it be?
Jesus fucking Christ. I don't know, besides, like, Capital or whatever.
David likes Capital.
I like Capital is good. I like the Grundrisse, actually, a lot.
Okay.
I like anyone who's... What's History and Class Consciousness by Lukács is really good. I don't know. Jameson's fun. The Political Unconscious is really fucking good. But that's, like, it's, like, lit analysis, but it's really fun.
Okay.
Do you like... I don't know. You're not a Jameson head.
Okay, underground gardens. Yes, there are underground gardens in Fresno. They're called the Forestier Underground Gardens. They're very, very cool. Okay, David, what's your preferred type of pizza?
Detroit.
The fuck is Detroit pizza?
Detroit-style pizza is the best pizza.
What? Okay. David, what radicalized you?
What? I don't know.
I think it was Christian school.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there at Fresno Christian, the school that I went to, the library was... This is like a very California thing, so it doesn't signify anything class-wise. Was in like a mobile home.
Oh, yeah.
Thing,
we called them... what do we call them? I was just talking to somebody about this, and I can't remember. They were like... Yeah, they were like mobile homes. They were called the portables.
Yeah. Portables. So the library was in a portable, and I had this Bible teacher who was like... I don't know. There was something fucking weird about that guy.
I mean, yeah, you went to a weird Christian school.
But, like, there was, like, beyond, like, everyone was weird in their own special way. But, like, there were people who had, like, integrated their weirdness better than he had. So he had been like, humanism is the worst thing in the world. Oh my God. Which was like, that's a debate that's been dead since, like, 1600, guy. Like... and so I went and I read Erasmus, Praise of Folly, that for some reason, there was a section of the library, though, that had one volume of Erasmus, one volume of Martin Luther writings, Mein Kampf.
Oh, God.
And the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, okay.
And I read them all.
I'm trying to get the spelling of the Grundrisse for somebody in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, but, like, the Grundrisse is, like, essentially, like, it's the groundwork. It's, like, Marx trying to work out all the shit he does in Capital.
Yeah.
So, I think it's interesting, like, there are more appeals to what I would call, like, a normative understanding of human good in the Grundrisse than there are in Capital, I think, for obvious sort of, like, strategic and ideological, but also kind of, like...
I also tend to prefer the drafts for Marx and Engels.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like,
I
think
same
it's...
thing. I recommend people start with drafts rather than the...
The 1848 notebooks or manuscripts or whatever?
1847.
Yeah, those are good. Lukács, honestly, read fun shit. Like...
Okay. Which of my takes do you disagree with the most?
Okay. Your takes?
Yeah, which of my takes?
We won't get into it because you are gonna go full fucking Ben Shapiro.
about to fucking
You are gonna go
right now.
full
I can
fucking
already
Ben
my
Shapiro.
fucking- It's happening.
You could.
What is it?
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pick an oldie.
An oldie, okay.
A real oldie.
Okay.
Like you got bizarrely like Susan Sontag is homophobic for Notes on Camp.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't even remember, but I stand with old Madeline, and I was
And
probably
I remember
correct.
being like,
I don't
it's
even
very
remember.
obvious that like Susan. Okay, so it was like, oh, because you were like, Susan Sontag.
I
is,
guess I hate Susan Sontag.
Yeah,
I don't
you
remember
Madeline
reading Susan
fucking-
Sontag.
You probably think she's a CIA asset.
I don't even remember, but yes, Susan
No.
Sontag is a homophobic CIA asset. Probably.
No, it was basically you were like, because Sontag is making a point about standards of taste and how one develops taste, and the fact that she has she is noticing a new way of having taste that she calls camp, right? And like other people have also called camp. And she says at one point, camp can never be political, and she means something very specific by that. She means something very specific by that, which is that the earnestness and seriousness involved in making a judgment that is political is at odds with making a judgment that is calling something camp.
Okay, no, I think she's homophobic. All right, what was your first tattoo?
Crass tattoo.
Okay, crass tattoo, perfect. All right. Hold on. I'm getting more questions.
Okay, we're done.
No, that's it? Really? We lost it? Grin, we say thank you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
We did an hour and 5 minutes and 8 seconds, 9 seconds. Let's fucking end this.
Okay, all right, cool. Okay, everybody, thanks for sticking around. Should I send you to Larry? Is Larry still on? I'm an hour later than usual. Larry's still on. Larry's still on. Yeah, Spectrum's cuck maxing again. My bad. Sorry, guys. Everyone wants more David questions. No, we'll be done. I gotta start my work. This is my lunch break.
I have to go.
That's Larry. Okay, I'm sending you guys to Larry.
Buy
Thank
a
you for
gluten-free cookie.
Sounds great. I want to check that. All right. Bye, everybody. I'll see you back tomorrow for Theory Thursday. Get ready. Think about what you want. What's your star sign before we send them off?
Friedrich Jameson, make her read the political unconscious. She'll hate it.
Your sign. What's your star astrology?
Oh, I thought I was talking about Theory Thursday. You guys are making her drink water. Make her read the Frankfurt School. I'm an Aries I have to text someone to ask what.
Aries.
Yeah,
Aries.
I'm an Aries.
Okay.
My Venus is in Taurus. I know that much.
Bye. Okay, everybody get ready. Get ready for your raid. Go get ready to raid Larry.
Oh, can I be done?
You can be done. Get out of here.
All right, Madeline. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, bye. Good luck with the cookie. Okay, ready now.